Welcome to Rad Chat. I'm your host, Brandy Lynn, and today my special guest is Carlo Martinez. Thank you so much for coming. I know it's such a crazy time right now, and I'm really happy you came because you work in the surgical center.
Yes.
So if you want to talk to us a little bit about how it's kind of been right now, obviously we're all safe, we're all good, no one's sick, no one's got any symptoms, we're okay, but I know you've probably been in the nitty-gritty of it. If you kind of want to just kind of start off with talking about that maybe, since that's kind of what's really going on right now.
Yeah. Well, I work at two different centers. I work
Okay.
at Specialty Surgery Center in Westlake, and I also work at Dougherty Laser Vision.
Okay, well, you work in Westlake. I work in Calabasas.
Do you? Yeah.
Dang,
so it's like
that's
right down the
pretty
street.
cool, yeah.
Yeah. So, well, I'm a certified surgical tech, so I do any type of assisting in surgery. So, I mainly do cataract surgeries at the moment.
Okay.
So the COVID kind of put a pause on everything because
Yeah.
everyone's now like on the front lines of the actual, like the disease and whatnot.
Yeah.
So it has been kind of weird, but we're still reopening because there are people who still need the surgeries and whatnot. So it's been a little hectic.
Yeah.
You have to deal with people and try to make sure that they don't have any type of symptoms. And then some people come in who don't even believe that COVID is a thing.
Really? There's
they-
still people like
yeah.
that? Wow.
There's for sure people that try to like walk in without a mask. They try to walk in and just hang out and talk. We have like this weird little thing.
Those are
going-
probably like anti-vaxxers that don't vaccine their kids.
Right.
Definitely those types
Right,
of
right.
people. I'm judging you for sure.
Right. It is for sure those kind of people, and they just get upset when we turn them away because we're
Yeah.
not going to sit there and take this big risk of
Yeah.
infecting the whole
Hospital and you guys.
Right, exactly. So it's definitely been a little
Crazy.
crazy, and everyone's on edge too. So everyone, you can
Yeah.
tell like the vibe at work is very like just very cold, I guess. And then usually we're all really like happy with each other. We're laughing, having a good time, especially
Yeah.
in surgery. If you know anyone who works in surgery,
You have to be kind of on
yeah,
another level.
And it's also a bunch of sickos. Like,
Really?
Yeah, because people like in surgery are usually the kids who, at least most of the people I work with, they're like potty mouths and
Really?
they
That's
just have a really
funny.
dark sense of humor.
Yeah.
Surgeons are the same exact way. Like when you go to like
Yeah.
a doctor's office and you talk to your doctor, you're like, oh, this guy has it all together. No, you see him in the surgery room.
I mean, you guys
and-
have to see some shit, so I'm
Yeah.
sure you have to have a certain mindset where darkness, in a sense,
Mm-hmm.
can just kind of like, okay, this is my job.
Right, exactly. Yeah, definitely. I remember even like during my clinicals, when I was first like getting trained to do this, you see some really weird stuff, some
Really?
people in some really messed up
Like
places.
what?
I mean, I remember like we have rotations, right? So I have to do L&D, and then we have to do like specialties. So there's like
Okay.
neuro and like general and vascular and hearts. We aren't allowed to do hearts just because it's obviously very, very delicate.
Yeah.
But I want to say like my third or fourth week doing labor and delivery,
Okay.
we had a lady come in who was ignoring her symptoms, and when she got rushed to the hospital, she was unconscious.
Oh, wow.
And we ended up having to deliver a stillborn.
Oh.
And the baby was, I think, like 2 weeks away from being born.
Oh, shit.
So you see that, and there's just like, you do it a lot, right? So
Yeah.
you deliver babies, you hear the baby cry, and it's all good, and the room kind of lights up when the baby comes in. But then this time, it was kind of just this like gloomy thing.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the surgeon like cracks a joke, not about what happened,
yeah.
but like trying to lighten
Get
it up.
the mood. Like,
And then you just realize how like kind of dark some of these people are, because
Yeah.
everyone starts like joking, but you can tell people are like sad and hurting.
sad, yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's because they probably have seen so much, like, if someone has to go to the hospital, it's most of the time, especially the surgical center, probably not a good thing.
Right.
Unless, of course, they're giving labor and that's a magical time.
Right.
I don't want kids, so not for me. But actually, it's hard. My friend just had a baby, and it's like I'm obsessed with her baby, and I'm like, oh, maybe one day.
I feel like everyone says they just want kids, and
I
then
don't
they
know.
end
I'm
up
too
with like
young
3.
right now. Maybe one day. I'm gonna be the great aunt, though. Anna, shout out. But I feel like they're probably used to that. There might be some times like that. That I'm sure that more seasoned surgeons or more seasoned people like doctors and etc. that they probably just know that if someone's not as seasoned, they have to make them feel better about it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I remember even that day, the charge nurse came up to me and asked me if I was okay. Like,
Okay.
she was like, "You're not an employee here," but so there's certain times where if you go through like a traumatic experience, they'll like offer counseling and stuff like
okay.
that. And it was like my first time seeing a dead body, and it was like a baby. So
Yeah.
I told her, I was like, "I'm okay, I'm fine. I just kind of don't want to do labor and delivery anymore." And by that point, I think I had already done like, I want to say like 120 cases. So she was like, "You're
okay.
fine. You don't have to come back here again." But if you're not okay, like there's people you can talk to and stuff like that.
So that's
for
they
sure
offer
stuff.
that.
Yeah, absolutely. The surgeons will kind of like, as long as you're doing your job right, and the problem with surgeons is that they want things like 5 seconds before they even ask for it.
Okay, so you have to kind of know like what do they want.
Yeah. So like even like now that like I'm more experienced in cataract surgery and you know the type of surgeries I've been doing, I can essentially like tell what the doctor is gonna want. Yeah. And then I can see like our operational field, and if something goes wrong, I know what he's gonna need. Yeah. But when you're first starting, you don't know that. It's like you've been in books for the past however long you're in school. Yeah. So in books, these pictures don't move. They don't move. They don't smell.
It's not physical experience.
Exactly. So it's until you have like a person open in front of you that you're just like, shit. Like,
what do I do?
Yeah,
oh my God.
Yeah,
like the nerves probably
are
so intense.
Right. It's well, the thing is like too, like when you're in the middle of it and like someone starts to crash or people bottom out or whatever, like your training kicks in, and then after that, like your legs get weak and you start to do this like, holy shit, that just happened, you know? And
so
but then
first response is like, I need to act. And
right,
then you're
absolutely.
like, okay, now my emotions are coming.
Right, absolutely.
Okay.
It's like surgical techs, I feel like I'm gonna toot my own horn here.
No,
they're for sure like they're people who they need to know what they're getting into. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's not, and you know, don't get me wrong, like nurses are amazing. They're like super angels. But there's so many different categories of nurses. Like you can be like a NICU nurse, or you can be, you know, ER nurse, which all of it is super dope and super hard to do. Yeah. But even like the nurses in surgery, it's a different type of like person. Okay. You know what I mean? So you have to know that you're gonna be able to react and jump in and do what you have to do. Like I've been elbow deep in a person before. Yeah. And it's just weird because when you walk around every day, you're just like, I don't think I'm ever gonna have my hand inside of a human being. And then you sit there and you get into a situation and you're like, I can only imagine. What the fuck am I doing?
Yeah. So let's just kind of backtrack. So we know now, like the hospitals are doing their part. They're being safe. They're obviously I can only speak for myself, but I'm sure the whole world is so appreciative for you guys. Anyone that's working in the hospital, anyone that's working in service, essential businesses, etc. We're very thankful for you, and also thank you for taking the time to come on the podcast just so that we can kind of talk about it. But I kind of want to start back a little bit now that we've got that out of the way. How did you really decide that you wanted to get into being, what is your official title, surgical tech? Or, okay, how did you first kind of want to do that? I feel like that's a huge step into becoming like a surgical tech. Right. Let's kind of start how did you get into that?
Well, ever since I was younger, I always had like a fascination with the human body. Just how it works, why it works. And I thought that I wanted to go the psychology route. Oh, okay. Because even as a little kid, I used to read like just random stuff about even like people who have studied serial killers and neuroscience is something
why are serial killer documentaries so fascinating?
They are very fascinating.
Me and my boyfriend watch them all the fucking time. I'm
They're
like,
dope.
are we weird? It's a thing, right?
I'm pretty sure. Well, I also think that like human beings in nature are just very attracted to darker things, whether they want to admit it or not. Yeah. I think it's like a primal thing inside of us.
Yeah, and I think because it's like so blasphemy, like holy shit, this guy killed a bunch of people, that it's like fascinating to watch. Like Tiger King, that guy's nuts, but you want to watch it.
Yeah, you want to keep watching his craziness. Yeah. Or even like the Aaron Hernandez thing. Dude. You know, Jeffrey Dahmer, all those.
Don't bring up Aaron Hernandez to me,
I'm
okay?
sorry.
If anyone knows this, I'm a die-hard Patriots fan, and tell me why that year Aaron Hernandez was on fire that season, and I had just got his jersey that Christmas, the white jersey. Hernandez, I'm ready to go for next season, and the motherfucker got killed somebody.
That was...
hits hard. That's... Oh, all right, well, let's move past that. I'm upset.
But yeah, so I think ever since I was younger, and then my mom said that when I was younger, I would like to watch any type of show that had to do with the hospital. If I saw someone on TV with scrubs, I for some reason was just drawn to it. Oh, interesting. Whether it was like a dramatic show, and I don't know if you remember, like back in like they used to, like even on like YouTube and stuff like that, they used to like put out just random surgery videos, or even on TV sometimes. There was like a website, I forgot what it's called.
I remember like ER was a big show.
Yeah. And as I got older, like I always saw myself, and like I said, I always thought I was going to take it the psychology route. Okay. I never was good in school though. Like I hated school. Okay. I had a problem with.
Why do most people hate school?
Yeah, like I have a problem with like not only that, I just have a problem with like authority. Okay. Like, I hate being told.
Do you think you know why? Like if you had to kind of realize, like, why do I hate it?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know, because growing up I was never like confined to anything. My family's always been really like I'm first generation here. Okay. From where my family comes from. My whole family's from El Salvador. Oh, right. So over there, when you hit 13, you're a man. Okay. You figure your thing out.
That's pretty crazy.
Right. So when I came here, it was, when they came here and I grew up here, they came here with that same mentality.
Yeah.
So I never had restrictions. As a kid, I can do whatever I want as long as I woke up at the house the next day.
Maybe that's why, that you never had restrictions.
Yeah. So then I'm coming to school and there's people just talking to me.
I don't want to listen to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me learn on my own time.
Absolutely. And then I always found myself just like annoyed because I would ask questions that they didn't like me asking.
Oh, okay.
And because I've always been really inquisitive with certain things.
Yeah.
So the psychology route of just even getting into neuroscience is crazy amounts of schooling.
Yeah.
So I never thought I would go there.
Okay.
So I kind of just, it was more of a, I guess like a hobby,
Gotcha.
you know, like
You're
I just
very interested
right.
in it.
I just loved it, and I've always, even till today, like if I can ever get to a point where like I'm studying people's brains and stuff like that, just to see why they do the certain things that they do, and there's like a surgical aspect to certain things, I would love it. That would be my dream job.
Yeah. Hey, quarantine, you get into those books, you might be.
Yeah, I mean, that's true, right?
Yeah.
I just remember, so surgery was always a thing, and then just looking into human anatomy and stuff like that, like it just fascinates me. We're like the perfect machine that can be taken down by the most minute thing. You know, example given the coronavirus.
The coronavirus is scary,
you know?
right?
Yeah.
Which I would see why that is so interesting, because like you hear like stories about the viruses and what it does to your body, and it is really fascinating that just a little, like this little microscopic thing can just explode a person. That is really interesting.
Yeah, and there's like little things you can't see that can just take down this perfect machine. Like the body can heal itself. You know, people can grow humans inside of them.
I know.
You know, like it's just,
crazy.
it's insane. But then there's this little virus that you can't see, a microscopic virus that you touch something and then you rub your eye and, well, that's pretty much a death sentence.
Right.
You know, but my life took like a whole different route. And like ended up dropping out of school and I was doing a bunch of dumb stuff. And I remember one of my uncles, he's a surgical tech.
Oh, okay.
And I was always really excited to talk to him about certain things about surgery. And it always fascinated me. But I grew up with like, I guess low self-esteem. So I was like, oh, I'm never going to be in school. Like I'm too stupid to do it, blah, blah, blah. And then one day.
Is that what motivated you to almost drop out in a sense? Because you felt like you just couldn't get through it and you didn't want to be there?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But then I think my life just kind of took a really weird turn, just events that happened in my life at the time. And I want to say like around 2009, 2010. I ended up meeting this, he was in like, I guess like the boss of this, it was like a workers' comp insurance company out in Westlake.
Oh, nice.
And we talked a lot. Like we would sit down kind of just like you and me right now. We just sit down and talk, shoot the shit, like during my lunch break or whatever. And I was a janitor actually.
Oh, okay.
So I had already dropped out of high school. I had been out of high school.
But you got right into working.
Right.
Gotcha.
Excuse me.
Which, hey, work experience I feel like is so valuable. Like I used to take a program in high school where I would leave half day to go to work because I felt like work was so much more important. Like I need experience working. So that's awesome that not did you just drop out of high school, but you really put yourself to work.
Right. Yeah. I didn't waste any time. I just went to work. But me and this guy, so we would talk, and to get a job at his company, you had to have at least a GED. Okay. And again, like I dropped out. I went to school in 9th grade, but I was that kid that was in class sleeping or
that was
talking.
me in college.
Just like talking to people, just never going to school. And he straight up sat me down one day and he was telling me that just based on him, the way I communicate with him, he's like, you're like, not to disrespect any type of janitors or anything like that, but he straight up told me like, you're too smart to be doing what you're doing. Like you need to be doing something else.
Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah, and he straight up told me like, get your GED, I'll help you. You know, he helped me out with like math.
Oh my God,
it was pretty cool. And then me and my cousin went and we got some school books. Yeah. And he would make me study, and I took my GED pass and I started working with him.
Dude, so he was like a mentor to you.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
Incredible. And you just met him because you worked in the building.
And we would talk because of his car. He had this mustard colored BMW M3.
Oh, shit. Okay.
I love cars.
You gotta say you're a car person.
Yeah, absolutely. So his car stuck out to me. And then this parking lot, there was like Aston Martins and all that, but just that, it was like a 2003.
It is Westlake.
Yeah, exactly, right? And so we'd always talk about his car, and we would just talk about just what's going on in the world and just whatnot. And I would talk to him about like the neuro stuff that I would be looking at because he kind of had the same interest.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, he took a chance on me. He hired me. I took my GED test and I passed. And then that's when my brain was kind of like, maybe you aren't stupid.
Oh, hey.
You know, it was
sometimes we need our own motivation.
Absolutely. Like I was able to teach myself. I remember when I was younger, my grandma, when she found out I dropped out, they all were heartbroken because, you know, it's their dream to have their firstborn here in America
go to college,
take off, right? Yeah, become a doctor or a lawyer or some crazy shit like that.
You're basically like a doctor.
I wish. I mean, close. Yeah.
Oh, hey, you're on your way there.
Yeah. So I remember one time, and I don't know why it stuck with me. We were sitting outside. Everyone was kind of sad and like upset. Like my stepdad at the time wasn't talking to me, and my grandpa wasn't really talking to me because I dropped out. And my grandma told me, she's like, well, you're a man, you're gonna make your own decisions. She's like, just make sure that any room you walk into, you're as smart or smarter than the person next to you.
Oh, that's good. Grandma.
And that stuck with me. Like, for some reason, those words, in the moment, like, I heard them and, like, they made me feel some type of way. And I was like, all right, whatever, here we go. I thought she was going to go off on her spiel because she used to just, you know, how parents are.
Yeah.
They
educate us.
Right. And so that plus what happened with my GED lit a fire. And I was like, all right, fuck it. I'm going to see what I can do. I ended up getting fired from that workman's comp job.
Oh, okay.
On some just kind of politics type of thing.
Yeah.
And it was funny because my best friend Brian was sick and he goes to Kaiser.
Okay.
I know, like, so my uncle has worked at Kaiser, worked at a bunch of different places, so he met us there.
Okay.
We're sitting in the waiting room talking, waiting for my friend, his meds, right?
Yeah.
And he looked at me, he's like, so what are you gonna do? I was like,
And this is post just getting fired?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right. So, and he's like, I feel like he kind of challenged me.
Okay.
He's like, you know,
what's
about,
next?
and basically what I got from what he said was like, how about you stop being a bitch and do something?
Okay, hey.
Right?
Sometimes we need our friends to tell us that.
Absolutely. So it took off and I was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna do it. And I had a little bit of money saved up and then, you know, my family, I'm blessed that my family has always been able to help me out.
Okay.
So my stepdad, he basically just kind of fronted me the money to go to school and I just got into school and it was weird because I was scared shitless.
Yeah.
The first day of school, I was like, dude.
Of college, correct?
Well,
or
it's like a trade school. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, it's out in Simi Valley. And it was just overwhelming.
Really? Because
Yeah.
you probably were, like, there's been a time where you haven't been in school.
Right, exactly. And not only that, like, there's, you know, when you get to, like, the medical field, you have to learn, like, pharmacology, you have to learn, like, what body parts are called, and you realize that there's, like, 400 different ways to, like, name something, and then, like...
I can't.
So when I got in there, I was like, dude, a year ago, I wasn't even speaking proper English.
Really? Wow.
Like, I was speaking English, but I was very, like, kind of ghetto English, I guess, right?
Okay.
And then I enhanced my vocabulary because of what my grandma said. I started reading a bunch of books and just trying to, like, if you go back to, like, the books I started reading, like, you'll see, like, random words highlighted and the definition of them.
Oh.
It looks like a crackhead's
book. Dude,
book.
that's good, though. But that's the only way you're going to learn,
right.
You know? And you're teaching yourself.
Right,
That's
absolutely.
really inspiring.
And then, so I come in, but I realize that, like, I'm actually passionate about this. Like, I love surgery now, and the reason I love surgery is because I get to do something really cool. I get to help someone, but I don't have to talk to that person.
Gotcha.
Right? So, like, I don't like I think one of my biggest things is if I help someone, I get really weird when they come, thank you so much, and, like, I just don't like that. Yeah, like, it's fine, you're welcome, leave me alone.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Yeah, you're more like to yourself type of person, and that, I understand that because I feel like I love to be like, I'm so thankful. Like, my most appreciated thing is I'm a very thankful person, but when people tell me, like, good, like, it is a little like, oh, okay, like, you don't know how to accept
it's
it.
Overwhelming.
Like, it's overwhelming.
It's overwhelming.
Yeah.
Like, I'd much rather, like, be cussed out than someone tell me, like, thank you for something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in surgery, usually when they get wheeled in, they're asleep, and when they get wheeled out, they're asleep. But I know that me and the team that were in there, especially the doctor, change something in this person, like, help them out somehow, you know?
Save their lives.
Right. So, so I, you know, started just taking off in school, and I was getting good grades, and I realized I was like, holy shit, like, I can do this.
Yeah.
And then it just all culminated together. You know what I mean? I realized that the childhood things that I was very, very interested in now locked into a better Carlos who was able to graduate and do this. And after that, dude, everything was different. Like, I'm now, like, sitting kind of like we are now, but with doctors. And
dude,
like
incredible.
the surgeon I talk to, or I work with now, like, he'll randomly just call me to see how I'm doing, and, like, you know, so it's cool because now I'm like, dude, you're, like, multi-millionaire, super well-established surgeon, and you're calling
the tech who is awesome, who's making him who he is. Without the techs, he's not going to be that fancy doctor.
So it's the team, you know, but it's definitely one of those, like, I still feel like it's surreal.
Yeah.
I feel like one day someone's gonna come up and be like, I'm just kidding, bro. Like, your license doesn't mean shit. Like, go home.
Dude, that's pretty incredible because do you feel like, So you had a time in your life where without the mentor, you maybe not have really got the GED, and then with the GED really helped you get into the trade school.
Right.
Do you feel like looking back, maybe some things didn't go well at that first job with the workers' comp, or the second job that you got, but do you feel like with that mentor, it's really helped you, and you're like still, maybe if you're close or not close anymore, but you're still so appreciative for that opportunity to kind of put you on the right path?
Absolutely.
And then even maybe getting fired puts you on the path of what you're passionate about.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And actually, I still talk to him.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good.
We talk.
That's awesome.
Even if it's just a couple times a year. He's up in San Francisco now, so he left the company too.
Oh,
he started his own thing up there.
Oh shit, that's good.
And I've always had a handful of mentors.
Yeah.
I've always been very. I don't believe when people not that I don't believe, but I find it hard to believe when people sit there and say that they're just completely self-made. Mm-hmm. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Right?
I
am definitely a student of life. Mm-hmm. I learn from everyone. I learn everything I can from everyone, and maybe not necessarily apply it to myself, but it's still knowledge. You know what I mean? Like that's one thing that no one can take away from you.
Exactly.
So I've always had mentors. But that mentor was the first positive mentor I had. Before that, I had mentors that at the time I thought were positive. Yeah. Now that I look back at it, were very negative because they were leading me down a lifestyle that I didn't necessarily care about too much. I just thought that was a norm because that's what I grew up in. I grew up in like gangs around the neighborhood and just drugs and a bunch of other crazy stuff. So I thought that that's what the norm was. So I figured, well, this is just what I'm supposed to do. This
is like a product of your habit.
Correct, exactly. But I always felt like there was more. You know what I mean? I think that's one of my weirder like driving things inside of me.
It's not weird. That's incredible that if you did grow up with like a gang environment, a drug environment, that you could still see a light at the end of the tunnel. That's really incredible. Yeah.
So, I mean, even like growing up like that, I still had two sides of that world because my mom didn't want me going to school in certain areas.
Okay.
So, she made me go to school on like the west side of the valley. Okay. So in like Granada Hills area. Okay. And there I met a bunch of people who aren't part of that life that I was part of. So I was getting a taste of both worlds. Sides. Okay. So that's also what helped me. And then, sixth grade, I met my best friend. Her name's Julia.
Shout out to Julia.
She's a fucking kick-ass lawyer now, dude.
Shout out to Julia.
She like came up, but she was awesome. She was always a little voice in my head trying to like help me to do better. Like she saw more in me. So it was crazy to like, now that I look back at it, I always had this like duality, I guess.
Okay. Do you feel like that was a little hard at first to kind of handle? Like, I know there's more in life, but then I'm like living in this environment.
Yeah, it was definitely difficult to get out because again, one of my first mentors in life, quote unquote, was my cousin, and he is the typical story. Like, grew up with a fucked up household in a fucked up neighborhood, just doing what he could, Yeah. And I took to him because he just seemed so well put together in my eyes. And it, it's not because I didn't have like the parents at home and all that, because I did. Super awesome family, super awesome household. There's no brokenness in my household at all.
Oh, good. That's incredible. Because you hear lots of stories where that's not the case.
Right, and it's horrible, But like, I grew up in a house full of love. I just like that idea of like being that cool guy, right?
Something's out there.
Yeah. So like, I just took off on that, and just subsequently through life, you start finding different mentors and stuff like that, and that's kind of, I guess, where I ended up.
That's crazy.
Certified
surgical. But that's so great that I agree, because I feel like in life, mentors are the most important thing. I feel like when I look back in my life to connect, I had a very terrible growing up. I mean, of course, it was like there's positives to it, but it was hard. It was a hard growing up, and like you said, like, no one is just self-made. We've had help along the way, and I have only gotten to where I am because of help. And if I didn't have those certain people in my life on the way, I would never be where I wouldn't even know if I'd be here talking to you, because like I've even thought about suicide at some points in my life, and it's really incredible to hear that. Maybe like I thought, oh, I just had some like people that helped me, but it's incredible when you hear other people that have came from a different background also had so much help along their way. That's so incredible that you've even tried, like, it's gotten you to your passion. Right. Do you feel like when you were growing up, and now that you obviously had always been into like the neuroscience and getting into that, what was your first experience of like walking into the hospital on your first day of real work as a surgical tech?
It was scary as shit.
Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to say, I mean, because you come in with training, so these people are almost expect you to know what to do.
Yeah.
You know, so and then you have these, you know, big, scary surgeons walking around who. It was just scary. It was surreal. Like I'm telling you, it was scary. Like I'm walking in through these doors and like I have my little badge and I'm in scrubs and then there's like all this surgical equipment. There's people waiting for surgery. There's.
It's a lot at once, I'm sure.
Yeah. But then again, like I tell you, like once the ball gets rolling, your training kicks in.
Gotcha.
You know, so like I remember, you know, I would go through my days and I would at the end of the day kind of have to sit in my car for a second and be like, fuck, dude, like you're getting paid to do this. Like I remember the first time I saw a brain. Okay. I've done a craniotomy.
Crazy. I remember in like anatomy class, you work with like a sheep brain, but like you're working on a human brain. Yeah. Crazy.
It was intense because I remember I was trained in in like my neuro cases that I was trained with, some amazing doctors over at Valley Presbyterian, and he like walked me through the whole thing. He's like, oh, we're gonna make an incision here, we're gonna make burr holes here. But when you start to see this like human who's like someone's mom and someone's sister and someone's wife, or you know, husband, brother, you know,
somebody,
dad, you know, son, it's just crazy because you start to see like I'm now taking their, like, you know, we're taking their head apart. Yeah. But I remember the first time I saw a brain, I thought it was the most beautiful thing in the world.
Really?
I've never seen anything like it. Yeah.
Wow. So explain that a little bit. Like, why do you feel like, do you think just because you're so into a human anatomy that it was so beautiful, or is it like the architecture of the brain?
Well, I mean, I think it's a little bit of both. Like like I said, it's always been my passion, and I've only seen brains up until this point in books, and you know, random stuff. You know, random books I've bought here and there, like stuff I've seen online. So I've never actually seen one. And usually the stuff you see online or in books are like brains that are older, or like, you know, they're already out of a body, so they could have brains or whatever. But you know, just seeing the brain. So I think it's the fact that it was something that's always been my passion, and also like this is this person's like whole life. Yeah. Like this is a powerhouse here, you know, and I'm just sticking stuff into it and like, you know, helping the doctor remove it because it was a benign. It was like a benign growth in the brain, so it wasn't cancers or anything like that. We were just moving it because it was putting pressure on the brain. Yeah. And just to see him the way he was working, and just see this like brain that like I've always almost like fantasized about.
Gotcha. You've seen in pictures, so it's
right.
Like, what
so
does it really look like?
Exactly. And like I said, like that's this whole person's life. Like if you believe in like souls or whatever, like that's essentially what's there. Like that's everything about this person. Yeah. You know, like so I think that was overwhelming. Yeah. that was definitely
I'm overwhelmed. I'm like, oh my god, you opened someone's brain. Holy shit. Do you feel like, because, like you said, which is actually, I feel like if someone's working on my brain, I want it to be someone that's fucking passionate about it.
Right, absolutely.
Do you feel like, do you get trained to separate the fact that, like, you're thinking, holy shit, this is someone's mother, brother, sister, husband, wife, and the actual, like, I need to legit focus on working on this brain? Do you get trained on that? How do you learn to separate those two?
I didn't get trained on it in school, but they for sure... I mean, they do everything they can in the operating room. Yeah. Like, I don't know if you've seen any type of, you know, like, show, Grey's Anatomy or Good Doctor, or whatever.
Everyone loves Grey's Anatomy.
Right. So, like, anything you watch, they drape the hell out of a patient. So when you're working on this patient, it almost just looks like a piece of meat.
Gotcha.
You know, that helps. Because you're not seeing a face. You're not seeing the rest of the body. There's just kind of this little window on a bunch of plastic around this person that keeps the whole area sterile. Yeah. But again, it's just that. You know,
so it helps you just kind of focus in on that only section.
Exactly. Okay, yeah. And then 9 times out of 10, every surgery is successful, so it's okay. And then it's just, you know, if that one time that things go wrong, that's when, again, they have like, you know, programs and protocols. Exactly. Yeah. So, but yeah, they don't really teach you how to separate the two. The only thing that they for sure teach you, and they drill into you, that you cannot work on anyone you know or any family member. Okay. You can't, because again, your emotions will jump into your knowledge.
Know who you're working on, no matter what.
Right. So like if something goes wrong, then your like brain goes out the window. You're just now trying so hard to like help this person that you know, that you love, or whatever.
You can miss some specific steps by overshadowing your emotions.
Right. Exactly.
Because so they always say, like, and it's true, when you go to the doctors, they're so like stiff almost, like they have no personality, it seems, like when you go to the doctors. And now I'm assuming it's because you just have to focus on what the task is, because once you put too many emotions, you just get sucked into that. I could see like emotions really suck you. I mean, I don't know if it's just me because I'm an empath and I'm Scorpio, we're so fucking intense, but I could see like emotions could really be cloudy, and that's probably why so many doctors, nurses, surgeons, etc. could be considered cold, but they're not really. They're just trying to focus on their job.
Right, they're doing their job. Their job is to make sure you live, or they try to improve your life in whatever way they can.
Which is, I'm sure, goes back to what you said when everyone's kind of uptight right now with the COVID, because there's so many patients that I could see that you really can't be emotional in this state. No. You have to focus on what you need to do. Right.
And yeah, like I'm saying, like I mean, I work with an amazing team, but everyone is very, very tight because these are all professionals, and then they understand. It's like being in any type, it's having knowledge of any type of category in your life. When something goes wrong in that category, just a little bit more than everyone else.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? No matter what, because you're exposed to this. So when things are going wrong medically, we or whoever can and wants to read into it, but especially people at like surgical centers or where I work, at the clinic that I work at, or the hospital, we understand like the severity of it, right? Yeah. But we also want to help. Like we're still, that's kind of what we like, our purpose to be there, and so it's tense, and the emotions are kind of high. So our management does a really good job of kind of checking in on us, like, hey, how are you? How are you feeling? Like, you good? Yeah. Can we do anything to help out? Like, but at the end of the day, we're the ones on the front lines, not them. They're like in their offices, all nice and cozy.
That's me in the office.
But it's just definitely emotion. And your training do get tested a lot.
Yeah. Oh, good. Good. So it's just so incredible to hear people that are on the front lines and just people that really give up their life to work in the hospitals. Like, how do you feel like you really you say that you grew up watching these things and you're really into it and you really want to you question people, you want to know more knowledge. What do you think that moment was for you when you're like, I think this is my passion, like this is what I'm meant to do? Do you have a moment like that? Or maybe you said your friend really kind of pushed you, like, what the fuck are you doing? Do you feel like that made you feel like, okay, now let me go into what I'm interested in? But did you ever have a moment where like, this is my passion. I'm really passionate about this.
I mean, I think like the push was for sure, like, it was a spark in my brain, like, hey, maybe try dabbling in it.
Yeah.
I think the day I realized that it was for sure something that I'm passionate about, and it's not only, it's a career, but it's also like they say, like, you're in the right place when you don't wake up in the morning and go, fuck, I gotta go to work.
Yeah.
Like I get up super early and I'm like, fuck yeah, like time to do something. Like, whatever.
Great.
I'm excited to go to work. Yeah. I usually am. Doesn't matter what's in front of me. I'm excited to go.
It's like that quote, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life.
Yeah.
So that's how you feel. It's incredible.
But I think the day that it clicked in my head was we were doing, I want to say like a tendon repair in a hand. And I'm sitting there holding this human being's hand open while the doctor's working on it. And I specifically remember thinking to myself, like, fuck, I'm getting paid to do this. Like, I'm getting a paycheck to do what I would do for free.
Dude,
So I think that's the day for sure when it was like, this is it.
It just clicked. That's incredible. So how long have you been in the surgical center now?
About a year and a half.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I've been with the surgeon that I work with, and then the surgical center in Westlake a year and a half.
Oh, nice. And you say you're working at 2 different centers?
So I follow him there, and then I'm also employed by them.
Okay.
So I'm employed by 2 different places.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, nice. And then all of my training was done at Valley Presbyterian in Van Nuys.
Okay, cool. So do you feel like when you're driving to work either place that you're just like, shit, man, like, let's go to work?
Yeah, every night, every day. It doesn't matter, like, how bad the day was before. And I mean, this isn't going to sound good at all, but like if I was up late the night before for whatever reason, hanging out with friends, party, whatever.
Yeah.
It's not hard for me to get up. Like I hear my alarm and I like just jump up and go to, like I find it harder to get up to like go hang out with people.
God,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm a homebody. I feel you. Yeah.
Yeah. So I find that like it's harder for me to leave my house unless it's to go to work. Because at that point, like, I'm 15 minutes early to work, and I walk in and I'm like greeting everyone. Yeah, and I'm like chugging my coffee real quick.
Nothing happened at night.
Right.
Oh, that's
absolutely.
I love to hear when people are so passionate about what they work at, because I feel like in my life I've worked so many different jobs just because I had to work. And granted, I love my job now. I'm very, very blessed and thankful for it. But it's just incredible when you hear people's passionate stories, like. And then especially where like you've come from, like you weren't even thinking you were ever gonna get here, and now you're here. You said that your family you weren't really close to them when you kind of dropped out of high school. Do they look back on you now, and do you have moments where you're like they're more proud, like, oh, we were wrong back then?
Yeah, so the 2 people in my life were I don't know my biological father.
Oh, okay.
So I have a stepdad, but I call him dad
Okay.
because he's, you know,
He's your dad?
he took that role in my life, and he was definitely a super amazing human being.
Yeah.
Him and my grandpa were
Okay.
disappointed. My grandma and my mom, just like any Latin family, your grandparents, your grandma and your mother will basically, they'll stick by
Their
you no matter
baby
what.
forever.
Yeah.
You're the
Like I
baby.
could have came home with like tattoos on my face, like strung out, and they still would have been like, "You're an angel," and gave me a hug.
Yeah.
But definitely after I started taking my career seriously, and they saw that I was actually there and I wasn't gonna just drop out.
Yeah.
The dynamic changed for sure. And then now, like, even with my dad, there's like certain things where when this whole COVID thing happened, a bunch of people at his work started getting sick.
Oh, okay.
Right? He ended up getting sick.
Oh.
He was tested for COVID. He came back negative, but he
good.
did get hit with a fever,
Yeah.
and it scared everyone in the house.
Yeah.
But then that was my turn to step in
Yeah.
because I'm the medical person in the house. So like I'm talking to my doctor, I'm getting him prescribed antibiotics. I'm like, you know, filling him with fluids that I possibly can. I'm checking on him. I'm checking like his breathing, his heart rate, his O2 stats. So I'm trying to like make sure he's good. And I'm like walking in the room, and he noticed that, like, he even told me, he's like, "Why aren't you wearing a mask?" And I was like, "You're my dad, bro. Like,
Yeah.
if you're sick and I'm trying to help you out, like, I don't care."
Yeah, and also that was probably the very earlier stages where it wasn't mandatory yet.
Right. So that, he even told me, he's like, that shifted the dynamic even more. So there's even like an ongoing just
Dynamic.
transition between me and my dad.
Oh, that's incredible.
Because he now, like, even my mom told me, he's like, he now sees you as a man, like,
Oh,
because you're, you know, because
really
like,
incredible.
and after that he changed. But before that, like, once he saw, like I said, once he saw that I was taking everything seriously,
Yeah.
there was definitely like a transition of a little bit more love. And
yeah. He
now-
probably also was still questioning it, maybe.
right. He's like, "Well, this dude's going to school, but like, is he just gonna not go one day?" Or because I had a history of just starting shit and then just never like finishing it. You know, like
Okay.
I have, you know, like my Harley, like
Harley, yes, I was waiting for you to bring it up. I'm a Harley girl, everyone, if you didn't know.
yeah, like my Harley. We also have a project bike that we're working on, and I
Okay.
was super stoked. He put a bunch of money into it, and then I just stopped.
Oh, okay.
I stopped working on it because I got lazy and.
Yeah. Are you?
So-
Have you picked it back up?
Absolutely.
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
both my bikes are running again.
Nice,
so,
nice.
but
What kind of Harley? Pause. What kind of Harley do you have?
I have a 2013 Street Bob with a
Nice.
103 engine. Yeah,
Nice.
my baby,
Nice.
Evil Betsy. I even named her.
You feel like you have to name your bike.
Absolutely.
It's funny you said Betsy because my tattoo artist named one of his Harleys Black Betty. It's kind of similar.
There you go. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. I mean, there's like definitely a relationship between a person and a motorcycle.
Yes. I feel like, just like a little sidetrack, but I came from a Harley family. My dad had his own biker gang, as they called him, biker club. You know, some Hells Angels would come over to the house, or he would go there, and he had his own club. He was the president. So my whole growing up was basically like Sons of Anarchy without the killings.
Right.
I didn't see anyone get murdered, but of course, there was drugs in and out. Crazy stuff, and it's like I couldn't even really watch that show because it was a little hard for me because I grew up as a little girl in the nitty-gritty.
Right.
But there is a different experience. Like when I'm on the back of a motorcycle, it's incredible.
Yeah.
Like you're free, and I'm also like going to learn how to. I'm gonna one day ride a Harley. I have my own Harley, pay off my car first. But it's incredible. You're right. Like there's just a different experience when you're on a bike, and being a Harley is the greatest one, to be honest.
Yeah, like I started off on like a little crotch rocket, but then, and don't get me wrong, I love those because
Yeah.
I like to. I'm a car guy, so I'm all about speeding.
Okay.
You know, going fast and.
It's funny you say crotch rocket because I'm from the East Coast and we call them that too.
Really?
But I feel like people here don't really call them that. They're like loving street bikes here. But it's funny. My mom used to say, if you ever get in a crotch rocket, you're disowned from the family. And like I did one time go on I was in my friends, they have street bikes, and I was in their wedding, and I was like, I have to go on their bike. And they also taught me on a Grom. I learned how to ride on a Grom. So
Okay.
I have some experience
Those
riding.
Groms are fun.
It was kind of fun. I feel like I have to go back, and I'm very clutch happy.
Oh,
I'm just
that
very
makes sense.
spazzy, and I feel like I almost threw my friend off because he was on the back trying to teach me, and I'm like, oh shit, like, I gotta like let off on that clutch. So it's incredible. So you're building your Harley.
Yeah. So, you know, it was always just that, and I think he was just waiting for me to drop out, you know, and I didn't.
Yeah.
So now, you know, school's done, I'm working in it, got both bikes up and running. You know, I know that took a Harley detour there.
I know, I had to talk about Harley, I'm sorry.
Like, I love it.
It's cool though, but it's cool because you're right, like it is another experience, and it's just like helps you as a person too. Like you built your bike, now you're riding your bike. How was that experience? You built your bike. There's
definitely a different pride in it. You know, I didn't just go to the store and buy it, which I mean I did originally, right?
Yeah.
And my bike ended up breaking down, so me and my dad tore apart that bike. So my personal bike, my street bob, we put it back together, and then we have the project bike. But there's definitely a different type of pride. And like I said, you develop a relationship with your bike, you know, because riding isn't 100% safe, right?
Yeah.
But you're on this thing that you just love, right? Like, you know, and for a while I didn't have a car. I only had a bike. So it was like 3 years where I'm riding like wind, rain, hot as shit, cold as shit, like, but I'm on my bike all the time. So you grow to like, you know, every time I get on my bike, like I, you know, rub the gas tank. I'm like, get us home safe, girl. Like, you know, like it's love with this, like, it almost becomes, it's not an inanimate object anymore. It's a whole other, like,
it's like a part of the fam.
Yeah, exactly. There's definitely like a whole different dynamic.
Yeah.
Any type of bike.
Yeah, it really is true because like anytime I can go on the bike, I'm like, thank God. It's like, I feel like if people don't know how it is to be on a Harley or a street bike, they don't get it.
Right.
You know, it's like you're literally out in the world, in the wind and the air and nature, and you're going on these long rides, and especially in California. Like I've actually never been on a Harley in California. I've only been on the East Coast, and it's different on the East Coast because you can only ride for certain months. But here, you can just go up the crest, you can go up to Pinga Canyon, you can go up Malibu Canyon. Like it's just, you go on these crazy rides. It's probably like, how do you feel like that experience is? Because like I wouldn't know from California. Do you feel like it is a different experience?
I mean, I think I've only ridden on the West Coast.
Okay.
Right? I've only ridden around here. But it's definitely, it's like a culture out here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a culture anywhere, right? But like out here, if you go to like PCH, you can anywhere in like Neptune's Net. Or
have you been there?
Yeah.
Oh, I want to go there so bad.
It's beautiful. And like Sundays now, like you'll see Harleys going up and down that street, like popping wheelies.
Really?
Yeah, like people stunt Harleys now, which is fucking crazy. Like I never thought I would see a Harley with like just on one wheel.
It's so funny.
It was funny because I was out there actually. We were out there with a couple of friends. We were just hanging out, and there's like a hill, like kind of like off to the side where Neptune's Net is at.
Okay.
And you kind of just hang out there, and then you see just these groups of Harleys just popping wheelies, and you see like, of course, like clubs coming up and down, but it's beautiful. Like it's like therapy. You know what I mean? Especially every time I would feel overwhelmed at home, or like I have like anxiety, so I get really bad anxiety attacks, but I'm scared as shit to take pills. Okay. Like I don't even like taking Tylenol.
Got you.
So like
I can't swallow pills. I have a weird thing where I literally like gag. Like I can't. But like no other problems. Like I can just swallow like a whole noodle, but a fucking pill, a little microscopic pill, I'm like, I can't do it. So I feel it.
Yeah. I think mine just comes from just growing up seeing a bunch of people being like addicted to pills and whatnot. So I have this phobia of being addicted to anything.
Gotcha. Okay.
But so when I would get my anxiety attacks, I would just take off on my bike.
Oh, okay.
And 20 minutes on that, like my heart rate would slow down and I was able to breathe again. But it was just, it's therapeutic to me. So again, like I grew that different type of relationship with my bike. I'm like romanticizing my motorcycle.
That's incredible that I'm actually glad we got in the motorcycle conversation, because that's incredible that is how you cure your anxiety. Because I feel like a lot of people that don't have anxiety don't understand how it really overtakes a body in a sense. And it's really incredible that you found a way to take care of it without medication, without getting prescribed anything, without doing extracurricular activities to cure it. Like that's incredible.
Yeah.
Like you get on your Harley, that's so incredible. How long do you think you've had anxiety where you finally were like clicked that like the Harley was helping you with it?
Oh man. I think since I've had my Harley.
Yeah, okay.
It's been a couple of years now. My anxiety was really, really bad, I want to say about 6 years ago.
Okay. Do you think anything certain that caused it, or maybe like just, you said just being around the environment maybe?
Yeah, there was a transition period in my life. I think that's where the anxiety came from, because I left a part of my life, then I came into this newer part of my life, I guess Carlos 2.0.
Okay.
Right? So I think dealing with that duality still, and I think, the things that like happened during that past life, I believe could possibly be, I don't know, I never saw a therapist, so I'm not really quite sure what caused the anxiety. I just remember the first time I got anxiety, I was like driving home from work, and it was like a fucked up day at work, and this is when I was a janitor at the point. And I just remember like my heart rate like spiking, and like I couldn't breathe, and my legs were just like tingling, and I'm just like, my thoughts were just out of control. Like I'm a very like, I think a lot. I'm a very quiet person. I think a lot.
Introspective.
Yeah. So, but this, I couldn't get my thoughts to like shut the fuck up.
Oh, okay.
You know,
and you're driving, so it's like an
right,
extra element.
Exactly. So it was a little crazy. I just remember like, it just kept happening and happening and happening. I would go for runs or like I would, you know, do like the fighting, like the Muay Thai and the Jiu-Jitsu, which that actually helps out a lot.
Oh shit.
But
that's incredible that you got into fighting too. That's
right.
Like a lot of people talk about how therapeutic that can be.
It is, because that's a whole other thing. Like I'm in love with combat sports for like competition. Like I'm not about that like fighting on the street with people for whatever dumb reason. No, like I'm about combat and like competition. Yeah. You know, and training. I've never had like a fight.
Okay.
I've done a couple like random like smoker fights, which is like not really sanctions fights.
Oh, okay.
But that helps out a lot, and once I took that seriously, it leveled out my anxiety.
Oh, okay.
But before that, I had gotten the street bike that I was talking about before I got my Harley. And then I remember one time I was like full-blown anxiety, and I was like, maybe if I go out on my bike, it'll calm me. Yeah, it'll calm me down, because I can't call someone to come train me at 2 a.m. when I'm fucking freaking out.
Be a little weird.
Yeah, like if I called my coach, he'd be like, "You're not gonna get me to come over at 2 a.m." Like.
I don't know about that.
Yeah. So I just remember going out on my bike, and like I said, like 10 minutes later, it's just really you hear the exhaust, just loud ass exhaust. There's an engine in between your legs rumbling. Everything just like it flows. You become one with the bike. The anxiety goes away. It's like, I can go home and go to sleep now.
Oh, good.
And I think that's just. And then the Harley. I mean, like, you know, being on a Harley, it's a whole different ride. Yeah. It's a whole different noise level, everything. The cruise is super comfortable, but you feel like a badass.
In your seat, and depending if you're high handlebars or medium handlebars, you're just like chilling.
Exactly.
That's incredible. So kind of going back to the jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai. I have a problem with that word. How did you get into that?
Well, I've always liked fighting. Yeah. You know, Latin household again. We grew up watching basketball, football, and boxing. That's like our religions, right? I've always liked it. I just, you know, I've always watched boxing, and then I watched the UFC.
Yes.
And I was like, yo, these dudes are kicking each other in the fucking head. Like,
crazy.
You know, and then actually a really good friend of mine that I grew up with, Nico Ruiz, undefeated champion right now. Actually, he's undefeated right now.
In the UFC?
No.
Oh,
no. He is a pro fighter though, but he's working his way up.
Dang, shout out to him.
Yeah, shouts out Nico. He started his own school, Primo MMA, which it lasted a little while. But, you know, he just, like, we went to school together. Like, I've known him for years. At this point, I think I've known him since like 6th grade.
Oh shit, okay.
I'm 28. We're still friends. We're still really good friends. He's the one that got me into it. Yeah. He's like, just come train. Like, he kept bugging me, like, you know, and I mean that in the most lovable way possible. But he kept telling me, like, come train. Like, I was a lot bigger back then, too. I was like 320 pounds when I first started training.
So it definitely helped you health-wise,
too. Yeah, absolutely. Health-wise, mentally, and physically.
Dang.
Because I feel like when you train, like, you just leave it there. You know, there's just, especially when you train with animals like them, like, there's just, you just exhaust yourself. There's just nothing left when you go home. You're like, I'm not even mad at anything anymore. Like, I'm good. I'm chilling. Yeah, I want to go home, shower, and go to bed. Like, fuck anxiety, fuck any problems I have.
Because it's like you're like you said, you're letting it all out, and you're just like in the moment with them, and you're competing with them.
Right. And then it's crazy because you sit there and you spar with someone. Yeah. So you're like punching them in the face. They're punching you. They're kneeing you. They're taking you to the ground. They're kicking you. And then when the bell rings, you hug. Like, that's crazy. You know what I mean? To anyone else that like doesn't understand combat sports, they're like, what the fuck is wrong with these guys? But to us, it's beautiful. Like, I love it. It's like an art, you know, like I've always loved combat sports. And, it's just, it's a whole different world. It's a beautiful world. Like, I love it.
Do you feel like it has now also helped you become maybe the Carlos 2.0, as you said? And why do you think that? Just because you're laying it all out? Or is there like a culture to it? Or is it just everything kind of?
I think it's just everything in one. Like, I was a little hothead back in the day. Okay. And I used to love causing problems and all that, right? And I was
you were real reckless.
I was an idiot. That's what I was, for sure.
We all are at one point in our lives.
You know, but then, you know, you walk around thinking you're this badass person, and then you go join a gym with your friend from high school or whatever, and then you realize that you're nothing. Like,
it humbled you.
Right, absolutely. But then it humbled me a lot. It like helped me focus. And there's like something really, this is gonna sound super weird, I don't know how else to say it, but there's something really like personal with you and the person you're sparring with.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, you're literally about to beat the shit out of each
right.
other, so it has to be personal.
It's almost like an intimate type of thing, right? Like, it sounds weird, but it's the truth.
No, it's so
because
true.
when the person in front of you, like, it doesn't matter what you deal with outside in the world, you know? Like, you never know what people's, like, real intentions are. You don't really know what people want from you, what they don't want from you. But I know that when I'm in a ring or I'm on a mat with someone, I know what you want to do. Yeah. Right? Like, you want to beat the shit out of me, and I want to beat the shit out of you. And I also win. Right. And I also know at the end of this, it's all love. Or, you know, so it's very like, you kind of understand exactly who you are at that moment, because you're being pushed physically and mentally. It's
like a pure, genuine experience.
Right. So it's like anyone who goes to the gym. Like, you know, I suck at going to the gym.
Okay.
Like, you take me to the gym to like lift weights, and I get bored. Like, lift heavy, put it down. Like, I just can't do it, you know. But like,
it's not your thing.
Right. But training, it's just. But like, so what I was trying to say was that even them, that like, that's their passion. So they do that, and then that's where they let it out. Yeah. That too, though, like that, you know, if you're under a bar with a whole bunch of weight, like, you find out who the fuck you are fast. You get humbled really fast. You know, like, you can think you're a badass, but you go do something like that, you're like, maybe I need to calm down a little bit. Same thing with fighting. So it definitely helped mold me into this more calm person. Like I said, now I'm not about, like, if I went to a bar or something like that and someone started talking shit, as long as they don't put a hand on me or hand on someone I'm with, I'm probably not going to say anything.
Yeah. But maybe Carlos
would have definitely done something dumb.
Yeah.
Without thinking.
So it's incredible that it's shaped you to be a better form of yourself, which is in reality all we're trying to be in life, or hopefully all we're trying to be in life.
Right.
So that's really incredible. Talking about fighting, I have to ask you, how do you feel about the Khabib and Ferguson getting canceled?
Oh, God, it was sad.
Dude, that's a crazy fight.
That would be a great fight.
Do you think that Ferguson can beat Khabib?
No.
Really?
I don't think so.
Okay, so I'm a huge McGregor fan.
Me too.
And I think he just wasn't in the right mindset when he went into that fight. Obviously, Khabib beat him. Like, he got beat. But he's just so fucking good and amazing. I, like, want them to have a rematch. But I'm like, will it happen? Because Khabib doesn't want to fight him. But I just, Conor McGregor is just so... I think that's what really got me into, like, the combat world sports. I used to watch it, like, back in the day a little bit. Like, I always had guy friends. And, like, guys love watching combat sports.
Right.
And so I lived in an apartment complex. And we always had neighbors that would watch it. And it was, like, back in the day where, like, the dude with the red mohawk used to fight. He doesn't even fight anymore. What was his name? Like, Hardy or something.
Tom Hardy?
Yeah.
Was it Tom Hardy?
No, Tom Hardy's the actor. It was, like...
Ed Hardy.
Jeff Hardy?
Something Hardy. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, no. Ed Hardy's the fashion brand. Tom Hardy's a great actor.
Yes, he's dope.
But he had the red mohawk, and I remember those days. And then I got more into it when I started dating my boyfriend, who's really, really into UFC with his... It's like his friends go and watch it together as, like, this... like hangout, like it's like they all get together and they have a great time, and it's like just the dudes and they like connect. It's like church to them. And so just like kind of getting into it, like when they would just watch like streaming on get the pay-per-view version of it.
right.
It was like incredible, because you're like, wow, these people are really putting all they have into it, and I got so into it. And also I used to do wrestling stats back in high school. I used to take the stats.
Oh, nice.
And you would think that most girls did that to like get with the wrestler guys, but really I only did it because it was so interesting that this sport is a team sport, but it's really not. Like in wrestling, it's just you need to beat your opponent, but you're also trying to get points for your team.
Right.
So it was very intriguing for me. I think that's also what got me into being interested in it. And then, fun fact, McGregor's jiu-jitsu partner, Dylan Dennis, went to my rival high school.
No way.
So it's so incredible to me that someone from Parsippany, fucking New Jersey, is huge. This guy's fucking... You know who he is, right?
Yeah, I know that. Conor McGregor is my favorite fighter.
Dude, it's so incredible to me. Like, holy shit, like, I know you. You like, so when you used to go to wrestling, like, regions and districts, all the... like Parsippany High, which is where I'm from, and Parsippany Hills, which is where Dylan's from, they are like together because your district wants to beat the other district.
Right.
So we like sit by each other and it's like, fuck, I know you. And you went to it's just so incredible. So that also kind of got me like more on the McGregor train. Right. Fuck yeah, that guy, it's got to win.
Yeah.
So I just had to ask, like, oh, what do you think of McGregor?
And McGregor's my favorite fighter.
Oh, really?
It broke my heart when I saw him like lose and all that. I just think if McGregor and Khabib 2 happens, the more focused McGregor right now, because if you think he's not, like, when he was about to fight Khabib, he was like drinking whiskey at like the press conferences, and he was riding that
throwing
like
shit at the bus.
Right.
He was crazy.
But this like the McGregor that just fought Cowboy, You know, and even in his interview,
fucking
yeah,
shoulder,
that shit was sick.
fucking broke his nose, dude. I mean, Donald, you have to give him respect. Like, he really did fight, yeah. But you were not fucking expecting that. The bone of your goddamn shoulder. To hit, fuck, dude.
Even Cowboy, like in an interview, he's like, I have no idea what the fuck he hit me with until like I realized what was going on. It was a little too late.
So crazy.
And Cowboy's a monster too. His Muay Thai is on point. His Muay Thai is amazing.
Do you feel like now that you're doing like jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai, that when you watch fights, it's like, oh shit, I know what they're doing. Oh shit, this is gonna happen. Like, do you feel? Because like I don't know that's like technical side of it. I watch it for the entertainment value.
Right.
And like, oh shit, that's crazy. What did they do? And then I listen to Joe Rogan, and I'm like, I listen to all the Joe Rogan fight companions or like the UFC people that come on to be like, okay, let me learn more about it. Right. And then I feel like I've learned a lot from it. But someone that's literally doing it, how do you feel watching it?
It's fun to watch it. It's crazy because it's we're gonna like I just train it, right? So like. Watching it, I've watched it with people who are fighters, like they're actually fighters, right? So like my friend, like, you know, like I said, Nico and my other friend Patrick and a couple other people who are fighters who have gone on and actually fought. Watching it with them is fun, but like now I watch it and it's like it's kind of like a book, right? So like I can read a little bit and then I see their reactions and I'm like, it's different from the person who's never like fought or trained. But it's definitely cool. But then you hear people like talking shit about certain fights and then you're like, dude, if you know how tiring that was, like jiu-jitsu will murder someone. Like it's just so like it's like wrestling. It's tiring. Like being on that floor and trying your hardest not let this person like choke your ass out. It looks boring to people, but if you've been in that situation, you're like, dude, I know how that feels. Like this is like whatever division you're in, just dead weight on top of you trying to like choke your ass out.
And like, how do you get out of it? How do you move? Because you have to be very, I feel like people don't know how technical it is. Like you have to really not only be like physically strong to do it, but like mentally there. Which is what, going back to what you said, you really helped yourself mentally be there to kind of have the release in combat sports, but also it's physically helped you as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you feel like now kind of you've been doing it for a little while and kind of looking back at yourself then, do you really like have like an awakening or like, holy moly, like I couldn't believe I was that person?
Absolutely. Then. Yeah, I think if I met myself 6 to 8 years ago, I wouldn't like who I was.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. There was a whole, like I said, there was a huge transition, and it was beautiful the way it happened. Like now that I think about it, not to like again toot my own horn, but the way it happened. Like,
toot your own horn, man. Shit, you went through some shit, and now look at you. That's incredible. Toot that horn.
It was just intense because, like I said, like growing up, I wasn't in my mind. If you would have talked to 16-year-old me and you asked like, where do you see yourself? I would have told you, probably in some weird way, I don't really give a fuck. You know, like I didn't expect to go past 18. Yeah. You know, and then when I like, it was weird because when I hit 18, 19, 20 years old, it was like a weird like trifecta of things. Like I have friends who passed, I have friends who went to jail, and then my mentors took me on at the same time, and then so it was just this weird like, I was in limbo for a couple. And then it just kind of skyrocketed and everything just started like, it's like they say when you're doing something you're supposed to be doing, things just kind of start laying down in front of you, right? Like, so that's what happened. Like my brain turned on, I got my GED, I was able to, you know, get into the surgery tech world, and, you know, I was able to get my health right. Like I stopped doing a lot of the bad shit that I was doing. Like I still drink but socially. Right. I just, you know, don't do any of the other stuff that I was doing. And I haven't touched anything for a very long time. Oh, good. Right? So like, and that there was no like effort to it. It just happened. Like, you know, and I know people go through a really hard time to sober up or like, you know, get out of certain things that they're doing. Yeah. For me, it was just like tripped, and I was like, all right, I'm done with that. Like, I just don't want it anymore. And I think that's when the better version of myself was born. When I realized that, you know, because like it was just like my brain woke up and it's like, hey, like, we gotta go this way, bro. Like,
stir this way.
Like, get your health right, get your mental health right. You know, and then the world. I mean, you know, I believe in God, so I feel like it was kind of God's way of saying, like, here, like again, like my uncle, you know, like I was told before, like, stop being a bitch, like, be the man you're supposed to be, right? Like, and then it was cool because even at the time, like when I was doing all the bad stuff I was doing, I have a little brother. He's 13 years younger than me. I fucking love that kid. Aww. I don't love anyone more than I love him.
Oh, I love that because I feel like me and my sister are just like a stereotypical sister where you're hot, you're cold. You obviously love them because you're your sibling, but that's so incredible.
Yeah,
like,
that's
holy Lord.
That kid's like
can my sister be like that shit?
Yeah, that kid, he's definitely my best friend. He's my little rock. Like, that kid keeps me calm. He keeps me centered. But I remember when he would see that I was doing a bunch of bad stuff, I noticed him emulating it.
Oh, okay.
And that fucking broke
you were
my
his
heart.
Role model.
Yeah. And then now that I switched, like, now that I'm doing a lot better, he's also doing a lot better.
Oh, good.
Like, he's into surgical stuff, and he's also like doing music. So he's like, so it's cool that he's taking this stuff on.
What kind of music is he getting into?
He's rapping.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
He's pretty cool. And I also see him.
Does he perform for you and stuff? Like
No, he's super shy about his music.
But you can hear him like getting into it.
Yeah. And I've heard some of his tracks, like random stuff on like SoundCloud and stuff like that. But he for
incredible.
sure like won't even like he if he like knew I was talking about it right now, he'd be like, "Shut up!" Like, he's very weird about it.
That's cute though.
But it was cool because just to see all that, just like I said, dude, everything kind of just happened. Like like I worked my ass off to get to where I'm at, but there was nothing. Like, it didn't feel that hard to me because I feel like I'm finally on the path that I'm supposed to be on.
So it was like naturally.
Yeah,
going.
and everything, like, it was weird. Like, things just started laying down, and like my group of friends now, I have a very small group of friends, like maybe 6-7 people, but
hey, that's
like they're my fucking like
they're
my
the ride or die.
Right, like they're my people. Like, they've been through me through the stuff I was doing to now. Like, they saw me in horrible places and never once turned their back. They never judged. They're always there. And like, again, like, everything just became very beautiful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's incredible.
So that was pretty cool when all that started to happen.
Do you feel like now that you've said kind of like your friends knew you back then and then where you are now, how are their reactions with you or their support or like through your path? Did they support you? Did they kind of stray away at some times?
No, they absolutely supported me.
Oh, that's great.
All my friends were always all about like they would check me if they had to. Like, if I was doing something I wasn't supposed to be doing, they're like, hey, you should probably like go study or go do something instead of fucking doing this.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, like all my, especially like, the girl Julia that I mentioned earlier, like she would always try to keep me in line too. You know what I mean? Like,
that's great.
Yeah, it was cool.
I feel like this day and age, friendships and like relationships and just support is so important because without that, it's really hard to kind of keep that train going. Like, you really need to motivate yourself, of course, but like having support around you is so great.
Absolutely.
I feel like I really didn't have support growing up, and now that I'm older, I have support, and like listening to other people that have such support, it's beautiful. Like, there's also a lot of stories where some friends like, didn't fuck with you anymore. They're like went on to the next, or, to continue to stick with you through a not so great time in your life to a great time in your life really shows the genuine of your friends. Yeah, which absolutely. Is incredible.
It's yeah, absolutely. It's have you ever seen Altered Carbon?
No. What's
on
that?
Netflix? It's this like show on Netflix, and it's super dope show. It's
what
like
is it about?
It's like so it's like way in the future, and they find out how to like not trap, but put people's souls in like these little discs.
Oh, okay.
Right, and then you can just kind of jump from body to body, and they call them like sleeves. It's a super dope show. But there's a line in that show that I wanted to reference, and so they're talking about there's like an uprising. There's this really like small group of people that are trying to fight the people who are just living forever because they can afford to, right?
Yeah.
And the lady in the show who's the leader of the uprising, she's super badass.
Yeah.
She straight up says like, yeah, for sure, she's one of those crazy ones. Yeah, she's super dope. She said something that like it stuck with me because I've always, people always like love like the lions and the gorillas. I've always loved wolves.
Okay.
That's like my spirit animal, if I can say that.
Fun fact, because I know you are a Scorpio, a wolf. So I'm like nerdy into astrology. And I also love reading, and a wolf is the dark undersign of a Scorpio because Scorpios are very misunderstood in astrology because they're, people think we're like the bad sign and we're terrible people. Like, you always hear that expression like, oh, they're a Scorpio, don't fuck with them.
Right.
Like, we're very misunderstood.
Yeah.
And wolves in society are very misunderstood because they're portrayed as evil and bad and like the monster of a movie. And wolves are very sensitive creatures and like really intuitive to their pack. So that's actually funny you said that. Yeah. So fun fact for you. Maybe that's why you like wolf.
Yeah, maybe because
I also love wolves.
Yeah, they're like I love wolves. Wolves are like I'm not like a fan of. I love how beautiful tigers are and all that. Yeah. But like if someone told me you have to become an animal, I'm for sure gonna say a wolf.
A wolf, yeah.
Yeah, no question about it.
Yeah.
And but back to the show, she straight up said is going back to what you're talking about, like a very tight knit group of people, which is I think the best thing you can have. She straight up said, what makes a wolf dangerous isn't like their bite or their strength, it's their pack, right? Because I wouldn't be shit if it wasn't for my wolf pack.
Yeah.
My friends.
Oh,
like, I really
that's
wouldn't.
a really good line.
Yeah. When I heard that, I was like, I think I texted a few of my friends. I was like, you guys are, you know, like.
Oh, that's sweet.
I mean, aside from my family who have always supported me 110%, like my friends, my tight knit group, what I consider my wolf pack.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't be where I'm at without them, because they've never. Like, I don't think I've never felt alone. You know what I mean? Like, no matter what I've been through, like breakups or just like drug problems, or, you know, even when like the alcohol got bad, which, you know, it's under control now.
Yeah.
But like, and it's also, anytime I strayed away a little bit, they always were able to bring me back in.
Oh,
yeah,
this
so
is what you want in a friendship group or a wolf pack. Like, that's, you want to be able to count on them, and also keep each other like accountable for anything that they're doing.
Yes, and I think that's the sign of a good friendship. Like, not just being your homie to kick it and drink and go out and do stupid shit, but like my friends, and, you know, and it goes both ways. We can sit down and tell each other, like, dude, you're fucking up. Like, you need to like pull it together. Like, you know, and I've had my friends tell me shit like that, and I've told my friends, like, you know, stuff like that too. And I think that's very important. I think that makes like one's life just that much better. You know, just having that support, that love, because, you know, when you're surrounded in love, you blossom just like anything else, right? Like flowers or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So I think that's important. It's dope. I love it.
It's really important, and it's a beautiful way to put it. Like a flower, like friends help you bloom, and that's how you get a flower patch. And it's really incredible, because I feel like, you know, growing up in life, like people say, like your high school friends, you want to be friends with them forever, but then they fall off. And then you're in college, and your college friends will be forever, and then they fall off. Or your friends growing up just in school, or even outside of school, or your friends from work, and then they fall off. I think it's really incredible when you have those friends that keep you in check and that you mature with, and then you're both, or whoever's in your pack, you're growing, and you see them grow, and then them start their lives. And I'm sure they feel the same way about you, like you starting your life in the surgical center, and your whole new awakening, and being so much. I'm sure you're even closer to them now because of all that you've been through.
Yeah, and then like most of them have kids, so like it was cool to see that. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, most of my friends have kids and are married, so it's like it's just cool to like to kind of grow with them like that. Like,
be in their weddings.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Do you remember I don't know how many weddings you've been in. I've been in two weddings, and it was incredible to be asked, like, oh, you want me in your wedding? Like, holy shit. Like, since you said your friends are married and have kids, how was that experience for you? Like, being in their wedding, or attending their wedding, or like being there, like seeing their kid, and it's incredible, I bet.
It is because it's funny, because like I think back to, we used to always hang out on the street in front of my house. Okay. Right? So that was like the hot spot for all of us to hang out. Yeah. So I remember, like, that's the first thing that comes to mind. Like, when I'm sitting here, and like my friend Brian, I was in his wedding. I was his best man, which was when he asked me, I was like, yeah.
I haven't gotten that ask yet, guys. So maybe in the future. I feel like my best friend Anna, she's very close with her sister, but I feel like I was her, like, she only had her maid of honor and her two bridesmaids of her two best friends, and I felt like the fact that I made that, I'm like, I'm basically the maid of honor, because holy shit, I made the top. You're like, I'm here, we in. Yes.
It was just, so like I think that the like seeing that is funny, because, you know, they get married and they have kids, and then like I've like held their kids and hung out with them, and I'm like, bro, like I've seen you like get shit faced at my house, and then now you're this responsible dad. Like,
my God, it's incredible.
It's crazy. I can't wait to tell their kids the stories that I have.
Yeah, isn't this the fun part? Like, when you're older.
Yeah, dude, I'm gonna tell you some shit.
Yeah, and I wonder if it's different, like men to female. Like you said, like you never knew your biological dad, but like your stepdad's your dad. Do you feel like because of that, when you see your friends, like guy friends and their dads, you're like, oh man, like what a cute little dad.
It's cool. It's definitely cool, because like you now see them in a different light. Like you see them being like responsible and fucking, you know, it's like a switch, right? Like,
and fatherhood's probably like means a different thing to you, especially like you know, you had your stepdad be your father and really mold your life in that way. Right. I feel like I asked that because I had like a really shitty fucking father, like fucking shitty dude, like. Yeah, anywho, so, and that molded me, because I feel like my mom was the strong force in my life, and that when I see a good father, I'm like, you go, man, like, hell yeah, like,
it's dope.
It's so dope.
It's really dope to see. Like, my dad, we have a really weird intertwining, but just, so when he and my mom met, I had already known my dad for years prior to that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's a whole story. It's just weird, but.
Do you want to tell us?
Maybe another day. It's one of those weird stories. But before that, like you mentioned it earlier, it's like your mom was the one who did everything. My mom and my grandma like are the strongest people I know. Yeah. You know, but they like they made me the man I am. My stepdad, when he came into the picture and took on that role of stepdad, but he never treated me like a stepdad.
Yeah.
Like a stepson. Sorry, he always treated me like family from the get. But it's definitely nice to see like men like doing their fucking part. You know what I mean? Like if you made this little human like be there, and all my friends, amazing fathers.
Oh, good.
Amazing
That's
fathers.
incredible.
Which is it's dope because I never like growing up and hanging out with your friends and partying, you never look at a friend and go, "You're gonna be a good dad," right? Like
right?
you're just
I
like,
think the same. You're not gonna be a mom.
Yeah.
Or like, oh my god, you're a mom.
Yeah, and then it happens, and you're like, "Shit, like you're a dope dad."
Yeah, it's just
cool.
like so incredible. I feel it's so funny that you said that because I feel like recently I had told my friend Anna like I heard her like she say like she sent me a video of her talking to her baby like mommy's here, and I'm like, oh, you're a mom.
Yeah.
I'm like, holy shit.
When it hits you, right?
So great. Like, oh my god, my friend's a mom. But I feel like I also have that experience when people get married, like your friends who just date and you're just dating and oh shit, they're fucking married.
Yeah.
Like I have a funny story where I was really good friends with my friend Brian, and then I became friends with his girlfriend at the time, Belinda, and now I'm like soul sisters. Like she's my model Scorpio. She's Scorpio too.
Nice.
Soul sister. And it's funny because I'm friends with both of them. So when I was in their wedding, which I also felt like I was up on the high tier too, like, yes, I know both of you. After they got married, like I went to their wedding, I was in their wedding, and then post their wedding, I was calling them, oh, your girlfriend. Wait, you're fucking married. Do you ever feel like you did that with your friend?
Yeah, I did that with my friend Brian all the time.
So crazy.
Me and Brian and his wife, Amanda, we're all really close.
Okay.
So like I'll say dumb shit like, dude, your girlfriend. I'm like, oh wait, that's your wife.
Right.
Fuck. And like she would look at me and like do
Fuck
this.
you.
Yeah, like she would show me her ring.
I have
She'd be like, hey,
a
excuse
ring
me.
on it.
I'm like,
is it the left hand? I don't know. I'm not married. I'm not engaged yet.
You're like that
one day.
But yeah, it is definitely like
it's
a crazy.
Funny. It's like a funny experience. Like, oh shit, you're fucking married.
I think it's like one of the dopest things though to see, like, cause me and my friend Denny, I've known him since I was 3.
Oh shit, okay.
And we're still best friends.
Dang, that's incredible.
Yeah, so I'm 28.
That's really incredible.
Yeah, 25 years. We have a crazy ass history. But seeing him and like all the shit me and him went through, and then now he's a dad of, beautiful little boys, and it's just not weird, it's beautiful to see it. You know what I mean? Like now I'm like, dude, like we've done some crazy shit together, and now like you're like caring for these 2 little dudes that like, like it's cool, and then like you see them with like their significant others, and it's just it's made me like happy. You know what I mean? Like we'll have like barbecues now, and like all the kids are running around, and it's like it's that awesome feeling. Like fuck, dude, this is our family. Like this is our family away from our family.
Yeah,
like
friends
it's cool.
are family.
Exactly, and it's cool because all my friends, their parents know my parents.
Oh, okay.
So like it's like a little fucking community of just a bunch of crazy.
Dude,
like,
that's incredible.
It's like I said, it's like a small little group, but it's like we just love each other that much. Like we fuck with each other heavy. Like everyone's in everyone's life.
I feel like that's really incredible. Do you feel like that's because when maybe growing up you like your parents were very involved with your friends and they wanted to know them? Yeah. I love those stories because I had the parents that were, or when my dad was around, he was only around for a little while, but they were the kind of like, I'm gonna drop you off at the sport event and then see you later. Text me when you want to get picked up, or call, use a parent's phone to call. Right. Cell phones were not a thing when I was growing, or when we were growing up. And I feel like I love when I hear like families become friends with their friends. I mean, when I got older, my mom became friends with friends of mine, and they added her on Facebook, and it was fun.
It's cool when you start to see that.
Yeah. Or like my mom's like, "How's this friend doing?" It's fun because you're like, "Oh, you're like interested in my friends." Right. And it's like a different community, as you said. You have a community of people.
Mm-hmm. Like everyone knows everyone. All the kids play together. My parents know all the kids, and it's dope. It's amazing. Yeah. It's cool.
I feel like I also have to ask you because you have a Jason tattoo right there.
Yeah.
Talk to us about why you got that. I'm assuming you're very into horror.
Yeah, I love horror. That's like Halloween for me, I celebrate it September, October, all the way up to my birthday in November. Okay. So like that's my shit. Jason actually has like a very nostalgic feel to me because when I was younger, my mom would let me ditch school on Friday the 13th because that's when they would play the marathons.
Gotcha.
Back in the day. I'm talking like when it was like on cable and the fucking TVs were all small and shit.
Just small, like box TV and the dials.
Right, exactly.
I remember that. Yeah. Or like when the DVD was in the TV. I had that TV and I remember I was like obsessed with Alice in Wonderland and it got stuck in the VCR and the whole fucking TV blows up at that point. I cried for like a week.
You're like, damn it, this is it. So Jason, I was like, I remember. Like, I like Freddy, but Jason's my favorite. That's like my spirit killer, I guess, if you would say.
Spirit horror movie cult favorite.
There you go. But it's just, the Jason mask reminds me of my mom, too. Of a lot simpler times before. It was before things kind of took a weird turn in my life and my mom's life. It was just dope because I just remember, I was young. I was like fucking 7, 8 years old, just like cuddled up with my mom, drinking cookies or drinking milk and cookies, and we would watch these So it was either Halloween or like the Friday the 13th leading up to Halloween, or just random times they would do the marathons, and I just remember feeling really safe even while watching these like scary movies. So like it's a very nostalgic tattoo to me. Like I got it on Friday the 13th, but I've always wanted it. Like even before I got any other tattoos, I wanted a Jason tattoo. Yeah. And that's where that tattoo comes from.
Nice.
But
that's a really spiritual thing, because I feel like I'm very into tattoos. I have a lot, so I feel like I know in my head that most people have a meaning behind it, which is why I ask. But I feel like if someone just saw it, they're like, oh, he just likes the movies. But that's incredible that it really just reminds you of you and your mom at a more simpler time growing up. That's like so empowering. So you always have a piece of that with you, which is why I think tattoos are so incredible, because they do have stories of on our bodies for the rest of our lives.
So you're writing your book. Yeah. That's the way I look at it. Like you can see someone's tattoos and you can kind of, some people do get tattoos and they're just like, oh, it looks cute, whatever, but even that might have a story behind it. You know what I mean? Like, I think most of my tattoos mean something. There was either like a part in my life where that tattoo made sense or whatever. You know what I mean? Like they mean something. I don't think I've ever put anything on me just because it looked cute. Most of my tattoos.
Most guys don't do that.
Yeah, right?
I don't even do that. Actually, I think everything on my body, it's funny, everything has double meanings. Like I didn't mean for them to have like these double entendres, but they kind of seem to just form that. Right. Which is incredible that like yours is almost like that. You love like Friday the 13th and Halloween and horror are your thing. But then it also reminds you of your mom and like a more simpler time, and you can just bring yourself back to that moment in a sense. Yeah,
absolutely.
Do you feel like, I have a weird relationship with horror, because horror, as my accent might come out, I think because I was abused growing up, that horror really scared the shit out of me. Like brought me, like was like a traumatic experience maybe. So I feel like I always had to watch it during the daylight. Like because I don't know why, it wasn't like, looking back, it's like that shit was not scary, like never gonna happen, but for me I was like scared, like fuck man, like creepy. What was it that really drew you to horror?
I have no idea.
No? Okay.
Honestly, my grandpa was really into horror too. I remember when I was like, I actually remember this night vividly. I was like 6 or 7 years old, and my grandpa, he loves Chucky. Okay. So I don't know if you remember like the original Chucky's. Yeah. Chucky scared the shit out of me growing up.
It's a like creepy looking doll.
Yeah. But I remember I was so intrigued that he sent me to bed. Okay. Because my mom was at work, so I was with my grandpa and my grandma. I remember this night because it was raining, it was fucking windy, and it was like the lights were off, and my grandpa had this like big screen in the living room so you can hear it and see it. He sent me to bed because he was going to watch Chucky, but I was just laying in bed and I was so curious to like see what was going on. Yeah. So we had this like the little divider between the living room and the hallway where I slept, and then the TV was on the other side of that. Okay. And I remember like crawling over and watching it. And, dude, I didn't sleep that whole night. I was so fucking scared. I think I woke up like screaming, crying, and ran into my grandpa's bed, and he's like, "I knew you were watching it the whole time." Yeah.
That's funny because even though it scared the shit out of you when you're young, you kind of remember that with like a nostalgia feel to it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so weird that you can remember shit like that, but I probably couldn't tell you what I did last week at certain points.
It's so incredible. I feel like I do the same thing. Like recently in quarantine, my iCloud storage has gotten full, so I have to go back and delete a bunch of shit I never deleted like years ago, and now I hate myself for it. And so I'm going back to all these pictures from years ago. I'm like, fuck, I remember that. Oh shit, and then you like really kind of cycle in, and then, or even sometimes my mom, my sister will like group chat and we'll like talk about like, remember when you fell off the balcony, fucking some dumb shit, and you're like, oh my god, it's like all about that day.
Yeah, but like, it like just comes back. It's weird. It's like smells too. Like, have you ever smelled something and it like brings back a memory? You're like a
candle. And you only have that candle. Like I had a flannel scented candle. I don't even know why it was called flannel, but I will never forget that candle. Can't find it. I don't even know. I guess it's like a guy's smell candle. Like they probably come up different forms of it, but this one was fucking called flannel. Never can find it again. It's like, yeah, you're right, like different smells,
It's
or like
weird,
cooking maybe.
Yeah.
Like a meal you had when you were younger, like you smell it again, you're like, oh, that smells like my childhood.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Incredible.
It's cool. There's a like a podcast with Matthew Walker that I was telling you about earlier.
Oh, okay.
He talks about that.
Oh,
He's saying
really?
that like essentially the brain's like recording everything. So like everything's there, you just need the keys to unlock it. And a lot of people talk about like smells are that key, or like just certain sounds or certain things you might see like unlock that part of your brain, and it just comes forward and you're like, oh fuck, like I forgot about that, but now I remember. Yeah,
is that why maybe then like a lyric you knew from a song like 30 years ago or 20 whatever years ago, and then you just know all the words?
Yeah, like a song will come on the radio, like a Throwback Thursday, and you're rapping the whole thing, and you haven't heard it for like 6 years. Yeah.
Or like throwback to like the boy band days, and like, oh, I'm gonna know that NSYNC song. I know all the words. Or even for me, I'm a rocker chick, so I grew up on like all genres of rock and roll and whatever kind of rock, metal, hard, whatever. And so it's funny, like me and my mom will listen to a song, and I'm like, fuck, that just comes back to you. Like me and my mom danced to this in the living room of this apartment. Like
you can almost like remember what you were wearing. Like
almost,
that's kind of weird. Like that trips me out.
It's a freak. I guess it's just, you're right. Like it comes back to you wanting to get into the part of the brain. The brain is so intriguing, and just the curiosity of like, why do we think like this? Why do we do these? And it also can contribute to why you were into psychology as well, because you're trying to figure out yourself, which is then informed trying to figure out what makes you yourself, which is your anatomy.
Right.
It really comes down to that.
Yeah. I mean,
incredible.
I still till today kind of want to dabble in psychology. I've talked to like psych majors. And one of my really good friends, he's about to graduate with his master's, and he's a psych major.
Nice.
And we have some like insane conversations. Like our conversations just, we talk about like psych, we talk about anatomy, we talk about just everything. Yeah. And I do want to dabble in it, but it would be more of like a hobby. Like I wouldn't want to go to school for it, just because I also, and like, I have moments where I self-diagnose. So like if I start getting too much knowledge of it, I'm like, dude, this is what you are. Like you're a manic depressive, this and this. Yeah. You know, so I think just like maybe like on a surface level, I want to get into it a little bit more, but the brain is just, it just intrigues me. It's just crazy how like just certain things will like
pop back in your brain, which is kind of fun too. Like, oh yeah, like it brings you back. And you're sometimes it's not so fun. Like you bring back to a dark memory, but for me, when I think like it brings me back to like a dark time, it also is like a motivation. Like, oh shit, like if this didn't happen to me, I wouldn't be who I am now. Right. Do you sometimes feel like that too?
Absolutely.
Coming from like not so great of a Carlos .1.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like sometimes like little random things will come up, or I'll see something or driving around and it pops up. But I try my hardest before, or like I'll think about like a friend who passed or just something that was part of that life. Yeah. Before I let like my sad emotions come in, I'll sit there and tell myself like, but you made it. Like you made it through. Yeah. Like those moments that you thought you weren't gonna ever come out of, or like the fact that you never thought you were gonna see 18, like you're 28 now. Yeah. Like you're 10 years past your thought expiration date. So I try to, like you said, it's a motivational thing. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, it happens all the time. Like there's just random shit. Like I mean, because I grew up in the valley, I live in the valley, so like the valley is just, that's all I know. That's all I knew for a long time. Like I recently went to like Virginia, like I was telling you earlier. So that was like the farthest I've gone. I went to like Vegas, but you don't,
Vegas is so basic when you're in California.
Right, yeah. So like,
but I love Vegas. I want to go to Vegas every fucking day.
Yeah, facts.
And it's funny because I don't go to Vegas to party, because I'm not a very like party person. But I just love people watching in Vegas.
Yeah, dude, people are fucking insane.
And I love going to shows in Vegas, whether it's a concert, a comedy show, or like a big like a experience show, like Britney Spears' Greatest Hits or Gwen Stefani Greatest Hits was the best day of my life. Anyway, but I feel like Vegas is just, you can do so much there that it's just incredible to go, and like the energy, like fuck, we're in Vegas, we're gonna have fun.
Dude, it's like its own little world.
Yeah, it is.
That's why like when I mentioned Vegas, I was like, I don't really consider that too much. Like, it's traveling, but it's like, it's just a whole different dimension. Like you go to Vegas, it's not real life. You know what I mean? Like that's Sin City. That's where you go crazy. Yeah. But like, I get you. Like the people watching, like I like to party a little bit. So like I'll go out there and party. But like,
nothing wrong with that.
And it's fun. But definitely the people watching there and fucking places like Walmart or Target, like going to the mall and just sitting down for a little bit. Yeah.
Because people are just so interesting. We're all so different, and we dress different, we look different, we act different, and it's just like not in a negative way people watching, but like an exciting way, like, oh my god, look at that person, they're so much different from me, or like look at them have the confidence to like walk outside like this. In Vegas, people are wearing all kinds of outfits, so it's just like incredible. Vegas, but it's funny you say that. So I'm not from California, so growing up in California, how was that for you to then, when you said you went to Virginia, what was that experience? Did you have like a culture shock of the state?
It was different. It was very different, because like you know, California, I feel like here we're like running at 110 miles per hour until we run into our bed. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like once your feet hit the floor, it's like I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do this, and there's like fucking so much traffic. Except for right now, which is pretty dope, because there's no traffic right now. But then you go to Virginia and it's the vibe out there is just so like calm, and everyone's just kind of sticking to themselves, right? Yeah. But like as a California boy out in Virginia, like on the East Coast, it was definitely a culture shock for sure, because everything's just a little bit different over there. It's like it's slower. People are definitely nicer in Virginia than they fucking are here. Yeah, people here are kind of mean sometimes. Dude, everything's different over there. Everything felt different. Like the time felt different. Obviously, it's 3-hour difference. Like the air felt different. Like I just felt clean.
Okay,
like, it was weird.
Because you don't have the smog.
Right.
Okay.
Right. I mean, I was only out there for 5 days.
Well, that's still a good trip.
Yeah, it was fun. It was super dope though. But like even like, you know, it was cold as shit.
Oh, what time did you go?
It was November when I went.
Oh, it did snow?
It didn't. It like rained a little bit. I know. It rained a little bit, and that was cold. But like I remember at one point I went out to the balcony just to kind of breathe for a little bit, you know, whatever. And like it, you know, that 13-degree like wind hits you, and you're like, yep, nope. Chill. Yeah, I'm like, you're probably like,
that's why they're not on the balcony.
I was like, that makes sense. No one's out here right now, except for my dumbass. Yeah.
Too funny. What was your favorite thing about going to Virginia? Or did you?
The scenery, honestly. Yeah, it's beautiful out there. It's green, and like I said, people are just nicer.
It's it's more green. Very more green.
Very more green.
Would it be a fucking word or a sentence? Look at me, college degree here. Didn't do me. Well.
I mean, you know, it was just a different experience. I am very comfort zone oriented.
Okay.
Right? Until I decide to leave my comfort zone, then I want to fucking overdo it. So now I want to travel everywhere. Yeah. With the surgeon that I'm with, the cataract surgeon, we were gonna go to Jamaica.
Oh shit.
And because he does like kind of like a Doctors Without Borders thing, but he was gonna go out there and perform free cataract surgeries.
Oh shit.
To the people of Jamaica. But then the COVID thing happened.
Yeah.
But also stoked because before Virginia, I was scared to fly. My first flight was to Vegas, and I freaked out.
Really?
Yeah. So I was like,
what is it about? A lot of people have that fear of flights.
Well, I don't know. I attribute it to the fact that I'm also scared of roller coasters.
Really?
I'm fucking terrified of roller coasters.
Have you been on any?
Yeah, and it scared the shit out of me. It was traumatic.
What roller coaster you going?
I went on Goliath, and it fucking murdered my brain. Yeah.
Okay.
Put me on a motorcycle, I'm down. I'll go on like a canyon.
That's ironic though, because a motorcycle is just as like scary to
I think it's because I'm in. I
You're
might
in control of the vehicle. Okay, I can see that.
I might be a little bit of a control freak then.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah.
Because on the bike, like if something goes wrong, it's my fault. Yeah. Like I deserve what's about to happen.
You can only blame yourself, whereas maybe like on a roller coaster, it's only outwardly things could happen there. It's more anxiety. Probably doesn't help your anxiety.
That was the thing with the plane. Like I was scared shitless that I'm gonna be in this metal fucking tube flying through the air and have like a panic attack, or like you know, because like then I'm gonna be that crazy kid who had a panic attack on the airplane.
Yeah. Did you go by yourself too?
When I went to Virginia, yes. When I went to Vegas, I went with a couple of my buddies.
Oh, okay.
But it wasn't bad, actually. Yeah. Like I got in there and I was like, this is pretty cool because no one's talking and I get to read and no one gives a shit what I'm doing.
What you're doing,
Yeah, so the flight to Virginia, when I went there, it was funny though because I was reading this book called Emotional Intelligence. It's a really good book.
Okay.
The chapter that I was reading though is about like anxiety and like why things happen and the possibilities of things going wrong. So he's like talking about how in like a situation of like danger, your brain will automatically send blood to like your fist and your legs in case you're gonna have to fight your way out of something or run. Yeah. And I'm sitting there and I'm like,
not the greatest chapter to read right now.
Oh fuck.
Can't do any of this here.
So I just put the book down.
How funny. Do you like to read?
I love reading, yeah.
Yeah. Any like what are do you have quarantine books you're reading, or any like you said that book was really recommended, but do you have any other books you would recommend?
Well, right now, Emotional Intelligence was a good book. I can't remember the author. I also have this book called the Harvard Psychedelic Experiment. It's about when they were like testing LSD on students and shit like that.
Oh wow.
That was a dope book.
Yeah.
The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho.
Oh, The Alchemist?
Yeah. I think that book everyone needs to read.
It's it's inspiring to like going your own path and you're like, yeah, it's really inspiring. I really enjoyed that book.
Everyone who reads it that I've talked to like gets their own different definition of it.
Kind of, yeah, that's a good point.
It's kind of like a Bible. Like, it's weird, you know.
Yeah, because he goes on his own journey, right, in the book. Yeah, I read it a long time ago, but
you kind of like interpret it, kind of, I guess, where your mind's at the time.
Yeah,
because I've had friends who've read it in different kind of like
stages of
their life, and they get different things. It's kind of like a Bible. People say you pick up a Bible and you read it and you get what you need out of it. It's the same thing.
That's true. It's kind of also like that, like Siddhartha kind of story of like going their own path and like what they did in order to like reach like that self-actualization that we might never get to, but we try so hard to get there almost. Which kind of brings it back to psychology of like of like Freud and like the ways you're supposed to go through life, and so it kind of
stages and whatnot.
Brings it a little bit back to that. But that's a great book. I also definitely suggest that book.
It's a good book. I like anything Dan Brown writes too. He's the guy who wrote like the Da Vinci Code and Angels and Demons and all that.
So in high school, my high school, we had like certain books every class read, and then there were certain books other kids read, like advanced English and stuff. But then there was books that you would think that like most commonly are taught in high school, and I never even read them. But I remember Da Vinci Code I really wanted to read, and so I bought it, but then I just couldn't like commit to it. It's like such a big story. So I was like, okay, I'll start with like the Inferno. Let me go to that book.
Inferno is great.
That book is very like, you have to really be ready to read it, I want to say. Like, it's so big and like and almost like poetic, where you have to like infer what's going on, if that makes sense.
They're definitely hard books, like not hard books to follow. They're very interesting books, and then you know, like they do a lot of symbology and shit like that. So like you said, you have to be kind of ready to read that kind of stuff. You know, some people can't take that information and
like at that point when they want to read it.
Exactly. Those are great books.
Yeah, I love reading. I read a lot of poetry lately, but I just finished The Revenant, which is what the Leonardo DiCaprio movie is based on. And fuck, dude.
Good.
The book is incredible. I wanted to read the book and then watch the movie. I've actually never seen the movie yet, but now I'm going to go watch the movie because the book is so incredible of like what it was like during that time and like the Indian cultures back then and how the US, it's just so incredible. Like, whoa, this is what shaped our country.
Right.
And then this guy gets fucking mauled by a bear. Spoiler alert, he fucking lives.
The movie is fucking amazing.
You've seen it?
Yeah,
Okay.
I've seen it like 4 times.
Dude, I can't wait to watch the movie because the book is so crazy. Like, he gets mauled by a bear. He fucking crawls his way to get fucking revenge.
Yeah.
That, spoiler alert, he doesn't even get.
No, yeah.
The fucking book left me very unsatisfied, though. Like, he doesn't even kill him. Like, I guess he comes to this awakening where, like, he's like, I don't need to kill him to feel like I'm okay now.
Right.
Which is a good ending to it. Because it's like, okay, he didn't need the revenge. It's like a dark part of me, like, kill the guy. He fucking left you for dead. He left him for dead.
Yeah.
But when you really think about it and you, like, really like get into the mindset, like, you're also satisfied. Like, he got to a place where he didn't need it anymore.
Right.
So it is pretty inspiring. Yeah, it is pretty inspiring book. So I just finished that book.
I'm gonna have to read that book.
It's good.
When you watch the movie, let me know what you think about the movie.
Yeah, because I feel like I just finished the book or kind of recently, and I need to watch the movie so it's like fresh
it's like
in
fresh.
my
Yeah.
head. Because I'm the person I like to compare. Like, oh, this was like left out of the movie, or like, oh, this like kind of got changed, or kind of, I don't know. I'm like weirdly into that stuff.
I do that. So I did that with a couple movies. I did that with a couple of the Harry Potter movies, and I also did that with this book called Lone Survivor. Okay. I don't know if you ever seen the movie?
I heard of the movie.
It's with like Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, Mark Wahlberg, right?
So it's about like the SEAL and like Operation Rubbing. So I read that book. That book was actually one of the first books that I read to like try to get my vocabulary higher. So like, it's got all your notes in it. Yeah, dude, it looks like a crackhead's book. Like, there's just notes everywhere and just like
you're educating yourself.
Yeah. So like that book was one of the first books that like I read and it like engaged me, right? Okay. So I read that and then I watched the movie. Yeah. And I stopped doing that because I criticized the movie so much. The movie was amazing though. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, the movie was beautiful. It was dope. Like, Mark Wahlberg's one of my favorite actors. A lot of those actors in there are fucking amazing. But just doing that, and the same thing with the Harry Potter movies, I was kind of just like, fucking never doing that again.
So I actually never read Harry Potter books. I was like a late bloom. I don't know how. I'm like nerdy, love Harry Potter now. I'm House Hufflepuff. If you like, Holding it down. I don't. Did you take your house
I
test?
did not.
Oh, you should. So you're not that. Are you like you just enjoy it?
I just enjoy the movie. Yeah.
Okay.
Like I like all the wizardry and shit
Gotcha.
like that. Yeah.
I was like so nerdy into it, but it's funny because when Harry Potter came out, I was like into Twilight. Like I was very into Twilight. So even though Harry Potter came out when I was like younger, like I remember going to the movies for the first Harry Potter, but it just never like caught my attention. I just didn't like pay it any mind. And then I grew up and everyone was watching Harry Potter, and then I started watching Twilight, and I was into like Disney Channel and doing my Disney movies. But then in college, I lived with my friend at the time, and she loved Harry Potter. She would go to like the opening days and like got all the books. She read all the books. So she's like, you have to watch all of them. So a normal person has been through years of watching the movies
and you
or
like
read
crash
the books.
coursed it.
And I watched all 8 movies in one day.
Jesus
one
Christ.
day. So
That's
I had
insane.
10, I guess I transitioned into 2 days almost.
Right.
But we like skipped class. Sorry. We skipped class and we watched it all day. And I had 10 minutes in between to get over the death of my fucking characters. Every character I fell in love with dies. And it was the most heartbreaking thing of my life because like rest in peace, Sirius Black. I got a Sirius Black tattoo. But those movies are so incredible. But I don't want to read the books. Well, I do want to read the books, but then I don't because I heard it takes away a little bit because they can't cram everything from the book into the movie.
Yeah.
But
it's crazy. You saw all of them and do it.
Yeah.
That's fucking insane.
All of them. So like,
Emotional
spoiler alert,
overload.
when Sirius Black dies, you're like, oh my god, he was just gonna start his life with Harry, and then like it started off with Cedric was my favorite because I was a Twilight person, and of course Edward Cullen is Cedric Diggory, and so I'm like, no, my lover is dying, so I'm all depressed, and then I had 10 minutes to get over that, and then Sirius Black dies, and then 10 minutes to get over that, and then everybody under the sun dies, fucking Dumbledore, and then you realize that the whole time you hated Snape, he was the best damn character in the whole movie, and he loved Harry more than anybody.
I can only imagine your emotional just up and down.
It was
this couple
rough,
days.
dude. It was so fucking rough.
Like
so
sleep for like
rough.
2 days after that. Like I can't do this.
It was so hard to grasp because it's kind of like Game of Thrones. Like it only gets worse.
Yeah.
Like every time you're starting Game of Thrones, you're like, it's gonna get worse, and then it gets worse, and worse in the way that like it's so hard to take it in. Like it's a lot of
information.
Yeah.
I tried binge watching Game of Thrones and I was like, what the fuck?
Did you finish it?
Yeah.
Okay. So I also binged Game of Thrones. I had to watch it in like, I think I started in February, and it was before the 8th season came out, and I never had watched it, but my boyfriend like loved it, and so it was like, okay, you have to be ready before the new season or the last season comes out. And I was like, okay, I'm ready. So we binged it, and I watched it in like 2 months.
Jesus.
It's a lot though.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing, like, oh my god, like I remember him, and at the time his friend was living with him, and his friend, and then we're talking in the kitchen, and he's like, oh, like you're just starting Game of Thrones. I'm like, yeah, I'm excited. I'm just starting. I'm gonna see what all the hype's about. And then him and my boyfriend were like, wait till she gets to that episode. And I'm like, what episode? Like, tell me. And they're like, no, you'll know when you know. And so it came to the Red Wedding episode.
Red Wedding, yeah.
And I'm like, this is that episode? Like, I understand.
The Red Wedding made me so sad.
So
I was
brutal,
like,
dude.
what the fuck?
So brutal.
Yeah.
The one that really got me on Game of Thrones is like, I loved the guy from like Duarte, and he has to fight the mountain, and he's like, I'm fighting for my people that you killed, and and then he gets the eyes, bro. I couldn't look at my eyes for like a good hour after. I look at Kevin, my boyfriend. I'm like, oh my god, what? I was so.
That shit was brutal.
It
was
dude.
brutal.
It's brutal. So Harry Potter's not as bad, but Harry Potter just like, you're like hitting the heart, like my character.
Yeah, and it's also like nostalgic. I mean, I watched it like when it was in theaters and stuff like that. So it's part of with my girl, like that's like my best friend Julia.
Oh, okay.
So we went to
Shout
go
out
watch.
to Julia, good for her.
Yeah.
She's such a good person.
She's dope. Much love.
But that's cool, yeah. I actually do love watching movies and TV, and then it's going back to like the book transition. I think the best book to movie that's ever been made so far that I've seen is The Perks of Being a Wallflower. The book is incredible. Like it was kind of like my coming of age book, and I actually got it tattooed on me. But I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's an incredible book, and it's not even that long of a read. but it's just inspiring of like this kid who's like a black, like he just you know doesn't know where he's going or what's life, and he's socially awkward, and he has not a lot of friends, or he went through a dark time. His friend killed themselves, spoiler alert, and he kind of has to process that, but he doesn't really know how to process it, and he's like in high school, and it's like he's a transition, it's like another thing, it's another part of his life. And when I read it, I was also kind of going through like a very hard time. And so you have like an awakening when like you go through the book, and then they made it a movie, and the movie is so incredible that it's just like, I think it was so closely related, because there's a part in the book, which I won't tell if you want to read it, that you have to kind of infer, like you get what they're saying, but it's not that clear. And then you watch the movie, and the movie does the same thing the book does, but it's so much more clear because you have a picture to it, that it made the combination just incredible, like so good.
What was it called?
The Perks of Being a Wallflower.
Okay.
And the movie's with Emma Watson and Ezra Miller, who's like incredible. And then the book is by Stephen Chosby. It's really, I highly recommend. I mean, it's kind of like, we're older, so it's like kind of have to go back to like kind of teens. But it's just an incredible story. If you even maybe watch the movie, the movie is just incredible.
I'll look into it.
Yeah, that was my favorite like book to movie series, I think.
It's crazy when you read a book and like you can relate it to what you're going through. That book becomes very like
a part of you.
Yeah, it's like ritualistic to read that book again. And then you go back to it after you make it out of your transition, and you're like, hey.
Right? It's so true. And I feel like sometimes I don't even like, some people are like, I'm only the book, or like I'm a movie pro.
Right.
I think sometimes it's even good the reverse. Like when you watch a movie, you have these like actors in your head to picture it. So when you read the book, it's like you know what they look like. You can kind of like really get more into it.
Yeah, because you can like mentally go there.
Yeah, which is even, I think, sometimes even greater to do.
I think it's dope, especially when you can, like you said, you can actually see the characters in your head when you're doing it. Because like when you read a book, I always feel like random people just
pop
in my head.
Yeah.
Just like, even if it's someone I know, or like even characters like off TV that I think would be good in this role.
Yeah.
Like I'll put them in it, and I'll watch the movie, and I'm like, that's not who I would have chosen.
Right? and then people get in the battle like, that actor's not good enough.
Right.
But if you start with the movie and then go to the book, you don't even have any of those like, oh, it should be this person. Oh,
right.
You don't have that argument. Yeah, I think that's sometimes fun to do. But then it's also like, the book's the original piece of art.
Right.
So, but yeah, books are just incredible.
I love books.
Yeah. So, do you feel like now in this stage of your life, like you know who you are, you're passionate about your job, and you also have very fun interests and hobbies? What is something that is like every day, this is like a reminder in your head, or like something that just keeps you going? I know it's like a big thing come from like off books, but
I was like, damn, we're getting serious again.
Or like maybe like advice you maybe give yourself, or like motivation you have for yourself. Is it just to always be like a better person?
I mean, my biggest motivation is just to not stop. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's so much good that could be done. And like, I'm not done.
Yeah.
I'm still gonna go back to school. I want to do PA. Okay. So I want to do surgical PA for either neurology or ortho. So nice. I think like I'm just getting started. Yeah. Like I literally just put my feet down. Yeah. So I think that's what like drives me every day. To do better at work, to do as good as I can there, so I can transition into school at some point. Maybe keep my job and school. Yeah. And then just kind of keep going from there. And then just even with like this coronavirus thing going on, I think the world just kind of needs a little bit more love. Mm-hmm. A little bit more, Yeah. Even if I'm like, I love you, but stay over there.
Yeah. I know we're apart, but we're together.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just like, that's the driving factor. But I'll just love, try to be, happy, better yourself, let people better themselves, grow together, Yeah.
It's definitely the best type of like motivation and thoughts to have, because especially during this time, I feel like we lose that. Like we're kind of in like a negative time right now, and it's like, you're right, like love, and just we need positivity. Mm-hmm. So just to like hear your story, like my rest of my day is gonna be great, because like I've just learned so much just from talking to you and like having a fun conversation. Right. and it just going all over the place. It's just fun. Like we got to just sit down for like however long it's been and just connect on another level that people aren't really doing these days. So it is like, that's a great way to put it,
This human interaction is dope. And hearing stories and all that, I think we need to do more of it.
Right, exactly. Like, I agree.
People just need to sit down and just sit down and talk.
And like have a flowing conversation where like it's just natural. Like we can just talk and get to know each other. And maybe we already know a little bit about each other, but like, who would know, like, all these different interests you would have,
right.
or the meanings of them. And it's like this time really makes us focus on that in a sense, or try to hopefully focus on that.
You know, it sounds like kind of weird to say, but I think that's one of the good things that has come out of coronavirus is that
it's true, like a silver lining.
Yeah, so like not only, I don't know if you've noticed, like you see people out with like their significant other walking, or like people taking walks in the parks with their kids, and they're not like stuck on their phone for whatever reason. I don't know if they're scared to be on their phone because they don't want to hear about coronavirus.
They're probably just like bored of already being on their phone.
Exactly. So like you see like families with their kids like, you know, walking around having a good time, and like most of the people I've talked to and connected with, like they're told me that their relationships at home or even with their friends have gotten so much better because they actually have to communicate now. It's not just like, hey, let's hang out, we're gonna go somewhere.
Yeah, let's eat dinner and go to bed.
Exactly. So like it's more like, all right, well fuck, now we have to talk. Like we have to do this genuine, vulnerable, like, you know.
And mean it.
Right. And it's dope, dude. This is exactly what a lot of people are missing. And it's what our generation and the new generation coming up don't have.
A lot
right.
of them are missing.
Yeah, because it's just everyone hides behind a fucking phone all the time. Like I love having conversations with people. That's why I was so excited when you brought me onto your platform.
I'm so happy you came. Thank you so much for
Thank
wanting
you for
to
having
come.
me. It's just, this is like, I think it's very needed, and it's super dope. Just sit down and talk to someone. Like I said, you can learn.
Shoot the shit. Like we're having a good time. We're having a couple beers. We're just chilling, and we're friends. But maybe we didn't even know how much we could have known about each other.
Right. Exactly. And it's dope. It's dope. I like this.
Dude, I'm so happy you came. I'm very appreciative that you came. As like a last parting words, is there any like quarantine activities you're doing, or movie recommendations, or show recommendations, or hobby recommendations?
Just keep active as much as you can. Just, you know, it sounds so cliche, but like get out and move. Yeah. You know, work out, let the sun hit you. Try to read anything positive, self-help. Check in on your friends for sure. Yeah. People, like, especially, you know, everyone has friends that are, you know, a little bit more susceptible to being emotionally like saddened and stuff like that. Check in on them. Shows, Altered Carbon, you gotta watch, I think.
Oh, okay, yes.
Altered Carbon's dope. That's about it. Just, you know.
Yeah, that's funny. I just thought of like when you said like check on your friends that are maybe like more sad. There's a meme going around and it's like check on your extrovert friends because we're not doing okay. I started dying because I feel like I'm part extrovert, part introvert. So I think I'm doing okay because I'm already kind of used to like homebodiness. Right. But then you're kind of like, oh, but I wanted to go do that, and I'm like, okay, now I feel it. I get it.
yeah. I'm a homebody, but again, like, when I was told I can't go out, all of a sudden I'm like, fuck you. Like, I want to go to the beach. I don't even like the beach, but I want to go to the beach.
Because you're telling me I can't, now I want to go.
Yeah, exactly. It's that whole, like, not liking authority thing.
Yeah.
Being told I can't do something.
Yeah. Full circle. That's so
For
funny.
sure, it's that I get told I can't do something. I'm like, well, if it was any other day and no one would have said anything, I'd probably still just stay home. Yeah.
But now because I have to stay home, I don't want to stay home.
Like I want to do everything. I want to go to concerts, parties.
Right? Too funny. I'm just so proud to know you and to know like where you've come from and now where you are, and it's like super inspiring. And thank you for your services on the front line. Thank you for what you do, and I'm proud to know someone that like you did it, dude. Like you pushed yourself through so much adversity, and now you're like doing your passion. It's so incredible. For people maybe out there that have maybe experienced something similar to you or have a passion that they're scared to do, what advice would you give them if they're watching?
Honestly, just stop being scared and just do it.
Yeah.
Go for it. Like life is so much more than just fears. You know what I mean? Like once you start to face your fears, life is just so beautiful, and the things that can happen, the things that just like start to happen for you, which is like, it's crazy, you know, like just go for it, do it. You know, you have nothing to lose at all. No one does. If you want to do something, get out there and do it. There's nothing. What's the worst thing that's going to happen is it's not going to work out for you.
Get your shit together.
Yeah, and push forward. Just push and push and push.
And then use the support around you.
Absolutely. That's important. And, you know, not, you know, some people who have it, some people who don't. Yeah. But
it's incredible. Yeah. Thank you so much. And I'm inspired by your story, and I'm
Thank
sure so many other people are going to be inspired. This was so fun. Let's do it again.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Cool. You'll come back? Great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.